Everyone, and welcome to the Bradenton City Council meeting, Wednesday, July 22nd, 2026, at 8:30 a.m. in City Hall Council Chambers in the beautiful, great city of Bradenton, Florida. So at this time, we'll ask our pastor to come forward and lead us in the invocation, and then we'll do the pledge, and we'll start a great meeting. Thank you. Good morning.
Let's pray together. To the Almighty Creator of heaven and earth, to the one and only true God who is the creator and sustainer of all things, to the God who has revealed himself through the person of Jesus Christ, who willingly laid down his life for the sins of the world, to you we humbly come today. We acknowledge that according to your word, you have established all those in positions of authority. Further, we recognize that you have established earthly governments for the good of the people. Today, we come before you asking for your guidance and your wisdom for those here, for these men and women who sit in positions of authority, that you would give them wisdom, that you would give them understanding, or that you would allow them to make decisions and policies that are for the good of all people, that would also bring glory and honor to your name. Lord, we recognize that all good things come from you, and that your word says that you establish and you provide for both the wicked and the righteous, as your rain falls to water the earth for the needs that we have, Lord, that you rain on the good and the bad, because you love your creation and desire for us to know you. And so, Lord, I pray that today in this place you would be acknowledged. Lord, I pray for your hand of protection on these men and women here. Lord, that you would guide them, Lord, that you would uphold them, and that you would help them to make decisions that are in line with your righteousness and for the good of all people. And Lord, we give you the glory and the honor for the sustaining power that you provide for us each and every day. And it's in the mighty name of Jesus that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. We join all veterans in the audience in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Dr. Lemons of the Calvary Baptist Church for coming this morning. And as we've said at this council, we will always say a prayer and the pledge before we start every meeting, because it's so important as we see what we had during break as a July 4th celebration of 250 years of this great country. And it was just an honor to still be doing what we're doing, and appreciate that, Dr. Lemons. Thank you. This time I'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk.
The first item on the agenda this morning is a proclamation for Judge Gilbert Smith Day, July 31st, 2026. Whereas Judge Gilbert Smith is a lifelong public servant with his involvement in leadership, integrity, and commitment to all citizens of our community. His service has shaped both its legal community and its broader civic landscape for decades. And whereas, throughout his distinguished judicial career, Judge Smith has earned a steadfast reputation for fairness, wisdom, and unwavering dedication to justice. His work on the bench reflects not only a deep understanding of the law, but also a genuine respect for the people and community. And whereas his leadership spans numerous civic and nonprofit organizations, including his role as president of the Bradenton Kiwanis Club and the Manatee Chamber of Commerce's Legislative Affairs Chairmanship. He has led with humility, collaboration, and responsibility. And whereas Judge Smith is a dedicated mentor, investing his time in guiding young professionals, supporting aspiring attorneys, and mentoring youth during their formative years. And whereas he is a recent recipient of the prestigious Kent C. Schultz Award by the Leadership Manatee Alumni Association. And whereas Judge Smith is a respected historian and author, he has made an enduring contribution to preserving the region's story. Work includes Lawyers and Legends of Manatee County, 2nd edition, and in celebration of Bradenton Kiwanis' 100th year, he wrote Champions of Children, Volumes 1 and 2. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jean Brown, as mayor of the city of Bradenton, Florida, do hereby proclaim July 31st, 2026, as Judge Gilbert Smith Day, and urge all citizens to honor and thank him for his years of lifelong commitment to all residents. Signed, Jean Brown, Mayor.
Thank you. Judge Smith, you got some words you want to say?
Well, I'm not going to say many words, but as I look out among family, friends, and colleagues, I just want to thank everyone for being here. I'm so honored by this, somewhat speechless, to have this proclamation made. I love the city of Bradenton, and I love Manatee County. That's what inspires me to write about this community and write about the people here. So, we've always had really strong leaders here. In fact, they're so strong and so unique that oftentimes history is made in this community that's otherwise not anywhere else in the country. So I want to thank all of you for being here. And I really do appreciate you being here. I've enjoyed my time serving as a judge. It's hard, but I knew that going in. But I really have enjoyed the time serving Manatee County, the citizens here, and the residents of the 12th Judicial Circuit. So thank you very much.
All right, before we clap, stay up here. You get to the microphone and look at us now. It's not, as the sheriff would probably say, it's not a roast yet, but it's something that I want to give the council an opportunity. Vice Mayor Coker.
Oh, thank you. Judge Smith, part of our community's strength, I think, is because we have such deep roots, and your family and so many families have really formed the community, like you said. And I think the fact that through your steadfast efforts to put pen to paper, which I don't know how much longer they'll still put pen to paper, but your books and you documenting all of the people and events that have come before us, and that gives us something to hand down to the next generation so that they can always know where they came from and keep an eye going forward and not forget about the past. And I thank you for that, and I think the generations to come will too.
Councilwoman Barnaby.
Well, Judge, you've had a long, distinguished career, but allow me to personally say I think one of the most important things that you did was your family. You have a beautiful wife, you have a wonderful family, they've supported you, you've supported them. I mean, Anita has done many things in this community as well. So I want to salute you for having a wonderful family, and I want to thank the family for giving us the gift of his time.
Thanks, Dean.
Thank you. Councilwoman Coachman.
You know I'm not really good at these things. I don't really like goodbyes or, travel on, because I know there's more to come with you. I had the pleasure and the privilege to meet you when I worked with the Teen Court program, and ever since then you have inspired me to each day try to make history, because you are the type of person that acknowledges where we've been, where we are, and the possibilities of where we're going. And I know you are going to do a lot more. And just thank you for all you've given to Manatee County and the city of Bradenton, and to you and your family, all the best.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Moore.
Oh, this is definitely not goodbye. I want to thank you and your family for many years of just being an inspiration to not just me, but my family, as you know. We've just been honored to observe your dedication to your community and to the preservation of that history. I personally believe that the preservation of history is so important so that you know where you've been and it can guide your path forward. But it's that commitment to community that I think that we aspire to. So you've been a fantastic, there's no words for the example that you've set for our legal community. And I know that you will continue, because I know you can't put it down. And I look forward to the next iteration of that preservation of history.
Councilman Schuessler.
Yeah, as someone who's newer to, or the newest member of City Council, I wanted to reiterate what we as a body have already pretty much said, which is thank you for your documentation of the history of this city, for your mentorship, for your leadership, and all of your service to Bradenton and the greater Manatee community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
No, that was great. Everybody, said a lot about their knowledge of you and different things. I'm going to kind of go back to 10-year-old Gene Brown when he was sitting on your dad's lap in that courthouse with something that probably, that's why I'm sitting here today, because of a situation and a family dynamics and family court. But you just look at the integrity that you've brought to it, from what your dad did to what you did the whole time. And now, probably the biggest thing that's helped me is reading some of those books and different excerpts that you've done about the city of Bradenton. Because without history, and we've seen a lot over the years and things that are on, that if you don't celebrate your history, some good, some bad, we're going to repeat the bad things. And we want to definitely try to do good things. And some decisions are made, whether it's on the bench or whether it's on a dais, that don't meet at the moment what people may like. But when you look at the future of what it's done for the future, it's something so great. So I just want to thank you, and going all the way back, I'm sure your dad treated you the same way to make things better for the children of the world, and that's what you've done for those next generations, and what's so important to do what we're doing today and what we're going to do for the future, and continue writing those, because they're such great celebrations of life, but what we learn about our community that we didn't know. And the first council members that were here, and what Talent Park may have been, and the first president of Kiwanis that really shaped the city, and what they've done. So thank you for that. And I know there's always these kind of mandates that you retire, but I think you'll be more of a Kiwanian and the Boy Scouts of America and all the things that have been your life. So thank you for that, and we appreciate it. So.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes. So Judge, you got to come back up, get your family up with you, and then we're going to ask everybody in the audience to come forward that's here for Judge Smith, and we're going to get a big picture right up here. Yeah, you got to stay up here.
We're gonna come back here?
Yeah, you'll stay right in the middle there.
You want your box?
I'm afraid I'd fall.
I think it'll be okay.
Drone shot at the whole room.
Okay, if I get the box, then you come stand next to me. Because it's easier to get out of the way. Are you sure? Thanks, ma'am. I always feel weird being so tall. I have a prop. Yeah, everybody's smart. It's your exercise for the day.
Oh, look at all.
I know, she. You want to share it? Oh, no. Accurate.
We got a little hole.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah, I know.
That's what I was
Smart.
Open the safe to the city. Just symbolically say, thank you for what you've done from all of us again, and for that.
Thank you very much.
Did we get everybody okay? Okay. Yeah, that was great. Thank you very much for coming.
You are so kind. Thank you.
Let me go home and go back to
Your mama raised you well.
That was one thing she always was pretty insistent upon, to be honest with you.
Hey, how are you?
Good. You hold the chair off for women and open the doors.
Well, when first went to Australia, all women SUPAs, chaperones, except for the men. I know, to take you all to Australia.
Right.
Hi, how are you? Good. I'm so glad you came.
He would have said hi to you earlier when he came in.
Except for that I was late. Yes, that's true. Thank you for pointing that out, Chief.
Hey, buddy.
Wait, that's the wrong.
Amazing. He showed me the picture.
I had it, except for that I'm in Matthew's car. I would have had it, except it's in Matthew's car, and I left my badge in the other car.
Thank you to everyone for that proclamation, indulgence for Judge Smith, and obviously his family, as well as him, have played such a pivotal role in our community for helping the youth and children with the teen court and doing all that they do. So thank you for that. Madam Clerk.
Next item on the agenda is 4A, fiscal year 2026 through 27 employees and retirees insurance benefits.
All right, so we'll ask Danielle to come forward of Brown & Brown and give us a breakdown. The reason this got put on the agenda late is the last couple of years, obviously everyone knows where we've been with our insurance and how some things had come up, and through HR, they do a great job at really presenting it. But we've started having more meetings because we're trying to get this, as we've talked about, making our insurance being self-insured. We saw how we had a catastrophic situation a couple of years ago, and we're catching up with that from the way it happened and what went through it. So we're trying to make this insurance benefits very employee-friendly while making it as business-like as possible, to make it where we can flow through, where we can do things and still give even better benefits. We've got a board of 10 right now that we met on Monday. Mr. Perry sits on that but is a non-voting member of it. So, but as far as the overall, we spent over 2 hours or close to 2 hours on Monday that we can streamline the plan better, make it better for the employees, while also working through the monetary parts of things to make it better. And then trying to educate. Probably the biggest thing with all of us, me included, more than anybody probably, is we're afraid of change, when change can actually save us money at some point. But and as you get older, that change comes a lot quicker. Your 20s and 30s, you never go to the doctor unless something drastic happens. But now you have to do more things than that. So I appreciate the indulgence of putting it on. I know there's been some information, but Danielle was willing to stay. She lives across the state, and give us this presentation today, so it gets a little bit more, if you have questions, she's a little bit more knowledgeable of the overall part of it. So welcome, Danielle.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Nice to see some familiar faces. It's been a while since I've been before you, but we've done a lot of work with the committee over the years. Introduction, I am Danielle Boyle, Senior Vice President with Brown & Brown Insurance, and we have had the pleasure of working with the city since about 2023. Over that time, we've made some great headway with the committee, and today we're going to go through multiple things that were discussed and recommended during Monday's meeting. So just in order, we're going to go through the group Medicare plan options that are presented this year and the recommendation. Group supplemental benefits, which are the supplemental coverages that pay the employee directly if they have an accidental injury, a hospitalization, one of the big, scary critical illnesses like cancer, heart attack, stroke, those types of things. Stop loss was a very great year for us this year, when I can't say that to many clients. Stop loss market has been on fire. A lot of very high cost claims have been out in the market, and the city has some great results this year. Pharmacy costs continue to be one of the hot topics with all of my self-insured clients, and I think nationally there's a real focus on finding a better solution, transparency, reducing that cost, and taking out a lot of the middlemen and the ambiguity that's out there with some spread pricing. So we have a great option here today as well. And then we'll close with the 26-27 health plan rates and contributions. The Group Medicare Advantage Plan. So just to give some context, the city offers Medicare-eligible retirees the choice to either remain on the city's active employee health plan with Florida Blue, or to choose a Group Medicare Advantage Plan, which currently is offered through Florida Blue. A Group Medicare Advantage Plan preserves the city-sponsored group health plan experience while using Medicare benefits funding to provide coverage specifically designed for your Medicare-eligible retirees. On the Group Medicare plan, the copays shown, that I'll show you in a moment, are the amount the retiree pays at the point of service. Whereas on the active plan, a Medicare-eligible retiree really doesn't know what they're going to be paying because Medicare, by federal law, has to pay as primary for retirees. And secondary, you don't know until Medicare pays first. So that leaves a lot of questions for retirees when they go to use the plan. On the Florida Blue Medicare plan renewal that you installed 2 years ago, they released at an 8% increase. However, if the city would have moved to a January renewal date just for that Medicare plan, they would have held the current rates, until the end of 2027. And there was some reason with reinsurance that they cited for that. But a better option was presented through Humana. Humana exited the group employer market several years ago and decided to focus primarily on Medicare. And they've added quite a bit to their programs and services for those Medicare beneficiaries. They came in with a lower cost option, saving the retiree $24 per month, about 5.7%. And then they improved the benefits, things like free hospitalization, inpatient, outpatient, more competitive copay structures for other services that I'll show you. The provider network is also very strong. There's no concern there. And with the Humana plan, it is a passive PPO, which means anywhere that accepts Medicare, the retiree can go and pay the same copay. So they don't have to go to a Humana Medicare in-network provider. It's a passive PPO structure. The committee did vote to move to Humana for this renewal, and Humana has committed to being present to educate retirees about the benefits of the plan. I wanted to show you first the plan design, and anything that is highlighted in green on the Humana plan is what we would perceive as a better benefit than what you have today or what the Florida Blue renewal was. The Florida Blue plan had some mandatory plan design changes, which are shaded on the gray column, or in the gray in the middle column. So that is the Florida Blue plan, but what they proposed for the renewal, because for that entire block of business, they made some changes, like increasing the annual out-of-pocket maximum for medical from $1,000 to $2,000. They modified the inpatient hospital stay to be $200 per day for 7 days rather than just the 5 days that they had before, for example. On the Humana plan, the medical out-of-pocket maximum is $1,500. The copays are similar to what you have today. However, primary care would be $15, specialist $25. Urgent care is aligned with what you pay today, and emergency room is $65. The ones that are shaded in green, you'll see free hospital services for inpatient. Diagnostic procedures at the hospital and freestanding radiology facility for labs and MRIs, et cetera, are all free. And I won't read everything to you, but you can see there's a lot of green on the board, and it's also a lower cost plan. For just a moment, I wanted to show you how this plan compares to the two group active plans through Florida Blue that your retirees are enrolled in. The city does offer 3 plans through Florida Blue. However, one of them is a health savings account qualified plan, and as a Medicare eligible retiree, they're not eligible for that pre-tax benefit of an HSA. So I'm showing the 2 that you have retirees enrolled in. Anything that is shaded in green, of course, is going to be better than what you have with the Florida Blue plans. But just by way of example, for an inpatient hospital stay, on your richest option, it's $250 a day for days 1 through 5, meaning they're going to be paying a maximum of $1,250 for that hospital stay. That would have been free with Humana. And the outpatient experience is similar. So $200 is your richest benefit for that HMO plan on the Florida Blue Active, and it would be free on the Humana plan. I say all of this for the public record, and we will say this during open enrollment because I really would like to educate your retirees that this is a great option. I would take this plan tomorrow if I was eligible for it. Not only do they know what they will pay at the point of service, it's lower cost, and it's lower premium and lower cost at point of service. So I just wanted to review that with you. I'll pause for a moment to see if you have any questions on the group Medicare before we move into the supplemental benefits.
Questions? All right,
Okay.
thank you.
I have a quick question there.
Mr. Perry.
Danielle, how many people take advantage of the Medicare?
You only have 20.
That's what I thought. I thought it was a small number.
Mm-hmm.
And generally speaking, I mean, what it's going to do is provide coverage where Medicare doesn't, and more coverage even where it does.
Yes.
So those things like Part B and C, and there's coverage there.
So your Medicare eligible retirees are required to have Medicare Part B. That is something that typically comes out of their retirement, I believe, automatically. This plan replaces that for all intents and purposes, and they just have one card. It'll be a Medicare Advantage card with Humana. It'll include their hospital, their doctors, their pharmacy, just like you have today with Florida Blue. So you have one ID card, you go, and you don't have to worry about showing them your Medicare card also.
Vice Mayor Coker has a question.
At what age are you, I know
For Medicare?
65, but can't you ahead of that as
No,
well?
for Social Security you can,
Oh, okay.
but for Medicare, it's 65.
Okay.
And we do have some retirees that I think have stayed on the group plan for two reasons. One, it's different, right? You're moving to a Medicare plan, and there might be some questions on is that really as good as, and 100% it's better. The other reason is that many have families. So maybe a spouse is not yet age 65, and we really need retirees to understand that the city's plan as a self-insured plan allows the spouse and dependents to stay on the active plan until the spouse reaches 65, if that retiree would like to go on the Medicare plan.
So it's a win-win.
Correct.
Where they don't have to stay all or nothing. If they're 65, they go on it, but their spouse is still covered, which will still save the plan money
Correct.
overall.
Yes.
And that's why we thought this was important to bring it in this way. And there'll be some other discussion about, it's not on today's agenda, but we're gonna bring up more about our 65-year-old employees that have retired.
Yes.
But that'll be for a later day.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
if I may, I just wanted to kind of highlight, Danielle, am I correct in that when you look at some of the smaller ticket items, $25 versus $15, but mainly with the Humana and the Medicare, what really wanted to highlight is the hospital stays and some of the bigger ticket items. That's really where people aren't prepared, and that's where people get in trouble, and it's just a big
And
savings.
basically, the savings per month, you're probably not gonna change from 20 to 25, $5. You're probably not going 5 times in the month, which would take up that 24 plus savings. But if you have to go in the hospital, it's $200 a day that you're not paying now.
Right.
So those things, when you offset the little bit, you'd like it 85, 90%, you can't kill it for that small percentage.
Yeah, I mean, the hospital
Yeah.
stays, the major labs, those get quite expensive, and there's big savings with the Humana plan.
Yes, and as part of the open enrollment process, we will of course be educating the retirees of this option, but there's even additional features. There's dental, there's vision, there's a very broad schedule of benefits, which was included as an attachment in your agenda packet.
That'll actually improve the plan even more.
Correct.
And then we did last year, we gave the current retirees the opportunity to have a once back, where
Yes.
if they went to something and they didn't like it, they could come back on our plan, which most plans don't do that, and that option will still be there.
Yes.
If for some reason they get on it and something happens and they don't like it. But I think they really look at it, they're gonna think it's such a better plan.
Just one
Yes.
other point, sitting on the insurance committee and dealing with this for the last couple, 3 years at least, I think there's been a general interest in trying to have retirees transfer off our healthcare system onto Medicare. One of the reasons is that you paid for Medicare coverage your whole life, and it's a government-provided, insurance program, whereas our program is self-insured. And so if we have, I forget what the number of retirees on our plan is, Doug and I and a lot of other people have talked about this over the years, both on the committee and otherwise. But if we could get those folks that are a little bit more senior, that typically have higher healthcare costs because of that, to transfer off, then our claims experience would be probably less ultimately from our self-insured entity. And again, the individuals have already paid for the Medicare coverage. But the argument is twofold, I think. One is it's scary because you're making a displacement, a change. And then secondly, you do pay for Medicare in certain cases. I got my estimate and it was pretty high. I had no idea. But when you turn my age, you start to realize these things that you thought were just free, And so you do pay for it, number one. But our program also provides for the what do we call it, Mayor? The payment that you get from the city?
Oh, yeah, there's
The
a
stipend.
stipend, right.
Based on your years of service.
20 years of service or
And
more.
some people get like $400 a month in a stipend. And then if you also have FRS employment, FRS gives you a stipend. I think their cap went up to $160 a month. But the reality is that you could actually make money by taking the stipend, using the Medicare coverage, buying the supplemental policy to get better coverage. And so there are scenarios that are like that. But the complexity of our healthcare system does provide a great deal of misunderstanding, ambiguity, and other things for people to understand it. And we're dealing with that phenomena. I think we deal with it from the HR benefits perspective when we do our open enrollment and try to educate employees, and Danielle's folks help us with that, and when we do it on the insurance committee
Well,
too.
it's gonna come, Mr. Perry, and as we talked, it's gonna come down to the education that we understand it 100%. We've got a great board now with our new fire representative, Steve Rissler, is actually in the insurance world. Obviously, we've got some others that are around that understand it, and the 10 committee members from each department, have really seen over the last several years how this can make it better. And if you are that retiree and you get, some older retirees get not very much because of the way the plans were, but if you can go from paying even an HMO $831 a month to $400 a month, I don't see how you don't do it. And but again, we have to get them to realize, we have to get us to realize of what that is. And if you've been through anything lately, especially when you're older, or you've been through things, you realize it can add up. Wow. All
I
right,
could
so
add
I
one
think this
thing.
one's pretty good. Do you have anything else before we want to make a motion for this?
I think that many times when you see something that is half the price and better benefit, what's the catch is the first thing that would come to somebody's mind, right? Medicare is the largest purchaser of health care in the United States. They are able to get drug prices for much lower than what we are able to get drug prices. They are able to get hospital services for a fair, reasonable price. So it's not that it's not as good. They have more clout. They're able to get the fair, transparent pricing that is really, I would love for all of us to be able to get. But yes, it's not too good to be true. It's not what's the catch. It's just, it's better buying power. And that's it.
All right, so any other questions? Well, there's a preferred motion, so anything else on that one, Danielle? So we would go through, be motion number one. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir, Mr. Schuessler.
I'd like to motion to change from the Florida Blue Group Medicare Advantage Plan over to the Humana Group Medicare Plan for a 5.7% savings with a deadline for employees and retirees to switch carriers on by October 1st, 2026.
Second.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
and 5.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Thank you. Next, Danielle.
All right, the next item is your group supplemental benefits. Supplemental coverages, accident, hospital indemnity, and critical illness are available to employees. It's fully paid by the employee. And right now you have two carriers that are offering those coverages to employees, Aflac and Allstate. Payments from those providers, if the employee signs up and files a claim, goes directly to the employee to help them pay for household expenses or for the things that your insurance doesn't pay. So if you have co-pays, deductibles, patient responsibility, it can help with all of those. But really, the employee chooses what to do with the money for their best of their household. On the group market, we see quite a bit of savings whenever there's a competitive process if a legacy plan has been in place for many years. And this year, we did see that. I'm very happy with the premium savings that we were able to achieve here. The committee is recommending Sun Life for these coverages. There's substantial premium savings that I will show you in a moment, but all three plans have no pre-existing condition exclusions, which is an advantage from what you currently have today. So for example, a pregnancy would be excluded. So somebody wanting to use their plan for a hospital stay under your current plan and they're already pregnant, they would say no. Or even if you have any pre-existing condition, you cannot have a hospital stay covered for that pre-existing condition for 12 months under your current plan. So these plans do not have that limitation. That's a huge win for somebody that knows they're going to be facing a hospitalization in the coming year. There's no evidence of insurability required ever, so not this open enrollment and not in subsequent open enrollments. People can just come on the plan, get critical illness, and there's not an evidence of insurability that would be required saying, are you on high blood pressure medicine? We're going to exclude you from critical illness, for example. They're portable, meaning the employee can take the plan with them at the same rate if they leave employment, whether that be retirement or termination. An update for the committee, this is actually something that could be available for your retirees if you wanted to offer it to them as well. It's fully paid by the person, so you absolutely can do that. The current hospital indemnity plan has that 12-month pre-existing condition exclusion, and I already said the pregnancy. Sun Life also wanted to help the city with a goal that we've had for a couple of years, which is getting the employees an online enrollment platform where they don't have to do as much paper during open enrollment. That doesn't mean that that would be the only option or that we'd throw them out and just say the technology is all you have. There is support that we wrap around that. But in order to help cover the costs, Sun Life has thrown in a $5,000 implementation fund and a commitment to pay 3% of any premium they receive back to the city or the selected vendor, so employees can have that option. I think in the past 3 years, I've moved 3 other cities that were still using paper because sometimes Munis Tyler Technologies can be a little difficult to work within that HR portal. So this is something that we would be able to look at for 2027, so more to come on that. Just a quick overview, and as in the appendix of this, I've included the full schedules of all the benefits because they are very long. And the way that the accident plan works, for example, the benefits stack on top of one another, meaning everything that is associated with that accident, whether it's I needed crutches, an ER visit, and follow-up care, or I was in a motorcycle accident and I was hospitalized, ICU, intensive care unit, per day benefit stacks all the way on top, and there's not a cap as far as what would be received associated with that accident. So the premiums here were 8% lower on the low plan, so there's 2 plans that are offered, 8% lower on the low plan, 13% lower on the high plan versus what you currently have today. Stronger benefits. There is an accidental death benefit that I did want to highlight because I think it's often overlooked. I use this to buy very cheap accidental death coverage for myself and my spouse, because if you're killed in a car accident, that's always what we worry about when you have kids at home. It does pay out $50,000 on the low plan and $75,000 on the high, and there's no evidence of insurability or anything because it's accident. Can be a low-cost option, and then a $50 wellness screening benefit per person. So I've called out the wellness screening benefits, which are $50 on the accident, $50 on the hospital indemnity, and $100 on the critical illness, because when you look at how much the premium is, then you look at the wellness benefit, you really just need to go get your physical, and the premiums usually pay for themselves, at least for an employee only. The hospital indemnity plan, the premiums were 10 to 75% lower than they are today. 75% lower. So the older employees right now have an age banded rate. So if they are in the 50, 60, 70 plus range, they're going to be paying quite a bit more currently. And these are just complete composite rates. So your younger employees are paying the same as the older for the hospital indemnity plan. Pregnancy covered day one, and then in addition for maternity, newborn benefits pay on top of the mom benefits, and normally I don't see newborn benefits covered on these plans. There is a $50 wellness screening benefit as well. Critical illness, we saw premiums in the range of 15 to 60% below current. And a feature that I have not seen, this is newer to the market, is it includes a benefit as a critical illness if a woman cannot get pregnant and needs to have IVF or other treatment for fertility. $15,000 benefit for that. And just from what I've encountered in the market, that can be what a round of IVF costs. That's a good price. It can be more than that. Includes Health Navigator call line. So if somebody, let's say, is facing that fertility issue and needs a recommendation to the best-in-class provider, or they're facing a new scary condition like cancer, this is somebody that they can ask questions, help with claims, etc. There's a $100 wellness screening benefit here, of course, because you want people to have their screenings to avoid catching something at a later date. There is one thing that came up during the insurance committee meeting that I didn't highlight here, and I do want to mention. It's important that employees look at their coverages today if they have one of the cancer plans, because these plans work differently. Like a critical illness here will pay a lump sum when you're diagnosed with something. So diagnosed with stroke, cancer, heart attack. There's many other things that are listed in your or in the appendix with the schedule of benefits, including Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, childhood conditions. But cancer policies, if an employee buys those at a younger age, they're locked in at whatever age that was, and they have different types of benefits that pay out specifically for chemo or specifically for travel or experimental treatments, etc. So they may want to keep that, and they absolutely can. I would encourage anyone that is looking at keeping their accident, hospital indemnity, or critical illness to really think about that, though, because the premium savings is just in every tier. It was premium savings for a better benefit. Any questions on that?
I have a couple quick questions.
Mr. Perry?
Daniel, how many people actually take advantage out of all of our employees and insurable employee retirees take advantage of a supplemental benefit program?
I believe you're a couple hundred.
Okay. And who would be like, I know that if I have at open enrollment a decision to make whether I'm going to go with a health savings account, an HSA, an HMO, or a PPO. So I believe that I've got insurance, but I also understand that there's limits that I got to pay, like $4,500, up to $4,500 for certain things, and then other deals. And so this fills the gap. I look at this as part of a gap. When it says supplemental, that's what I'm doing. But I've heard stories, I think even the mayor told me a story, which was a pretty good story, about someone that did have a sizable, not just the stop loss, but other things too that are covered in here. So I can understand why somebody would do that. I guess my big thing is that you can have insurance, but you can still get hit with a whole heck of a lot of medical bills, right? And that's what this is designed to do. Okay.
Mr. Perry, too, not only for health issues, but if just as an example, an employee is out for an extended period of time and his spouse has to take care of him, these are supplemental policies, so they pay directly to you, not to the provider. So it really saves you in terms of mortgage payments, car payments. It says
Right.
they are payable directly to you. So it's not just in healthcare coverage, and they're quite inexpensive. And
Right.
so for those that are young and bulletproof and feel that they're going to live forever, and then they get in a car accident and they're out for an extended period of time, this can really cover the family.
Yeah. For the price of the premium, it was very attractive once I learned more about it. I
And
never
that-
looked at it quite that way, and I think I probably shared that sentiment with a lot of other people that go, "Oh, I got health insurance, I'm covered." But as you said, there's other scenarios beyond just the cost of the health care that's covered as well. And Danielle pointed out things like accidental death and,
Well, we've all had friends or in your own family where you've had an accident or something with your child, or whether it's in sports or whether it's in all of that. So you just look at it and, when you're young and invincible, as was said, you don't think about that. But at the cost that it is, it's almost worth doing. It's another insurance, but if you have one, ACL tear in a child, it's helping you offset some of those costs to you. And we've all had friends or seen it to ourselves. But so I think we've got this information. So Chair would entertain a motion for supplemental insurance.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir, Mr. Schuessler.
I would motion to replace Allstate and Aflac supplemental insurance options with Sun Life supplemental insurance coverage options.
Second.
All right, seconded by Ms. Barnaby. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1.
Yes.
Approved 5-0. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you. I think your employees will appreciate the little money back in their paychecks too from the lower premiums. That's great. All right, stop loss. This was, like I said, a great result this year. The market generally, we are assuming before we get renewals, a 30% increase for our clients when we are using our actuary to project forward what the costs will be. And the reason is there's just been many, many more 500,000, a million plus claims that are happening left and right. They used to be very unusual. The city has not had that experience for this year or last year. A few years ago, there was an anomaly that was quite catastrophic. But where we ended up is, well, just a quick refresher. You are self-insured, but you have stop loss that protects you against catastrophic losses. The individual stop loss that you have today is $275,000, and you pay a premium to HM, which is part of Florida Blue. They have a partnership for that stop loss coverage. You've been with them for many years. Each year we do shop the market to find the best deal, and this year the recommendation is to move to Sun Life. Sun Life is a great stop loss partner. Actually, I have more stop loss business with them than I even do supplemental benefits, and it's because they add additional things that like they did for you all this year. The premium is coming in 4% lower than what you're paying today, which it's not often that we're seeing a decrease in this market. It's about $42,000 lower in annual cost than what the city's paying today for that protection. Florida Blue did come back and through negotiations and offer a slightly below current, but it was about $30,000 more than Sun Life. So with something that's not employee facing, it's behind the scenes, the committee was, it was a no-brainer, I think. The included provisions like a 50% rate renewal cap, which may sound crazy. Why would we want to, who's ever going to have a 50% renewal? I've had clients with 100% renewals, or they will throw in things like a laser, which is an alternate stop loss level for one person based on their condition. That can really throw your budget haywire. And so having that rate cap is important. $2 million aggregate limit. So one other thing that you pay for, it's a much smaller portion of your stop loss premium, is what if the whole plan, not just one person's claims are high, but we have a really bad year with a lot of people with $50,000, $100,000 claims. We never really get that stop loss protection for the one person. Aggregate coverage kicks in, and it caps your losses at 125% of expected. And so right now you have $1 million in coverage. We got them to increase that to $2 million. which means if you have an awful year and you get to that 125% of what we thought you would be at, or what the underwriters thought you would be at, Sun Life would come in and pick up the next $2 million, which means you likely would not exceed that because you have catastrophic loss for one person. So if you were to have that crazy claimant come in, that's protected, but the whole plan as a whole wouldn't go 2 million over. Experience refund provision. So your claims have run well the past 2 years. We've barely had any stop loss activity. This year you've had no one that has exceeded the stop loss so far through June, with several, we have until October or the end of September for that to materialize, and there's a couple that are close. But really, when that happens, the stop loss carrier is making all of that money in profit. They're not paying anything out in claims. And what Sun Life proposed was to share that underwriting profit with you. So if your loss ratio is better than a 70%, they are going to give you 50% of the profit back. So that's a great feature if you are running well. They also included a cancer expert medical service, which is something that I've been recommending for my clients across the board, but it has a fee. But what this provides is one-on-one second opinion service between the treating provider, so the local physician if somebody is diagnosed with cancer, can get a written second opinion from the best in class for that type of cancer. The provider community actually likes this because maybe you have a cancer that you're not experienced with dealing, or maybe you don't have the time or resources to stay up to date with the most cutting edge that a Sloan Kettering doctor may have. It's not required, but employees do have access to that second opinion service, and they will work with the local physician team. 41% of the written second opinions Sun Life helped the members with led to a change in treatment. Sometimes it changes the diagnosis. We had one employee who was told that they had breast cancer and needed a double mastectomy. This was 3 years ago, and got a second opinion, did not have breast cancer. So things happen. It can help to have a second set of eyes, especially the best in class out there. I did provide the detail on the experience refund provision, but I already hit on that. So any questions I can answer on the stop loss?
Questions? Yes, Ms. Miller.
What happens to the benefit of the refund? So it gets returned to the city and then?
It would go into the health insurance fund to be used for claims and other insurance expenses.
Mr. Perry?
I was kind of scared when the situation we were in 2 years ago. We had probably one of the most catastrophic exposures that I've ever seen. We had an individual, and it's a sad, terrible situation, with I think it was upwards of $40 million.
It was
in
over 40
treatments.
million.
Yeah. And so we had stop loss for that, basically, but it was a continuing situation. And the stop loss, we weren't sure we were gonna get anybody to write a stop loss for the next insurable year, because who would take on that kind of exposure? And I think at the end of the day, Florida Blue was the one group that came up, and they had a laser. I didn't know what that term meant, but it's a carve out. It says, we'll provide stop loss, but we're not gonna provide stop loss for that patient and that insured. That's a bad situation to be in for a self-insured entity, because if we had to cover that, we couldn't. I don't know where $40 million would come from for one insurance claim. And this, what's before us is a lot better than what we had, both from a fiscal, from a coverage, and for probably a strategic reason as far as liability protections. I'm glad to see that we are basically able to be insurable at reasonable rates in the stop loss market. And the way they do that, I call it excess coverage. That's what lawyers call it. It's insured to a certain extent, you're insured to a certain amount, and then the excess is covered. There's usually like 7 excess carriers that have tiers of that additional amount. 275,000, that's what the threshold is. Anything over 275 is excess covered by a syndicate of insureds, basically. And that's kind of the way we handle it.
Florida Blue and HM picked up the next layer up to $4 million, and then the reinsurance had to cover the delta between $4 and $40 million. that was a really big hit for the reinsurance for Florida Blue that year.
In your career, have you ever seen a larger one?
No.
And
Neither
that was
had
something-
Florida Blue.
Yeah, no, and that was something that policies changed, plans changed, and we also, it was never about the individual because we wanted them to get the best coverage they could in their, to help do what they could with their medical part. But the biggest thing was we saw that you can stand up to big pharma hospitals, but at what cost? And I like that, the maximum increase can be up to only 50%, where you could come in and we could be 5,000% if we would have been on the other situation, and then not been able to pay it. So a lot of discussion on this. So Chair will entertain a motion for the stop loss coverage.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
motion to switch from Humana, what is it, HM Insurance, over to Sun Life Financial for stop loss coverage.
Thank you. Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, by Vice Mayor Coker. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 3,
Yes.
4, 5,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2.
Yes.
Thank you. Approved. Danielle.
Moving right on. The next topic we are going to address is the pharmacy benefit manager. So just to set the stage, the city is self-insured, and about 3 years ago, we carved out the pharmacy from Florida Blue to get a more competitive offer through RX Benefits, which is a group purchasing organization. Basically, they combine all of their groups together and approach the pharmacy benefit managers to get better pricing. They've been a great partner. I think the service has been great. But we've seen the pharmacy claims over the past 18 months are really all that's been driving the cost. Your medical claims haven't really increased even at market level trends, but the pharmacy has. And so we needed to look at the full market again. Our Brown & Brown has a pharmacy consulting arm, and we also have a managed pharmacy alliance, which does something like RX Benefits does, combines the purchasing power of all Brown & Brown clients to go to not only the big 3 PBMs that RX Benefits partners with, Express Scripts, CVS, and Optum, which are owned by insurance companies, but also transparent, independent PBMs. And RX Benefits is also on that panel. We do think they do a great job, but this year the results came back and there was a better option. And I'm really happy that it was MedImpact that was recommended by the committee. They are the largest independent pharmacy benefit manager in the world. And you say, what does independent mean? It means they're not owned by an insurance carrier who has other profit motives, right? And so by going in that independent route, we're able to do some more creative solutions, like taking advantage of the drug manufacturers' coupon assistance programs that are out there for specialty and brand medications to the tune of about $300,000 in savings that the plan would have, and members pay $0 to $5. It's a win-win. But we weren't able to do that with the major PBMs. There are other services that they provide, and the hands-on advocacy that you are used to today with RX Benefits, but a little bit richer than that. So the overall savings of 24%, roughly $615,000 versus the renewal PBM. So that doesn't mean your costs are going down by $615,000. With pharmacy, it is mitigating what the increase is. But versus your renewal contract terms, the same medications under that plan would have been $615,000 more than they will be with MedImpact. There's a portion of that savings that will have a delay. This plan does still get pharmacy rebates. So with anytime somebody fills a brand or specialty medication, the manufacturer of that medication sends a check to the pharmacy benefit manager. The difference is with MedImpact, that check is sent right to the city without them taking any of it. It's a pass-through model, but it's also, there's a delay. So they have to wait for those rebates to be received, and then they do a reconciliation. And so it's 150 days after the close of a quarter is when the first MedImpact rebate will be received. So that's where the 18-month lag comes in. But your immediate savings on the better drug cost and the programs, like the manufacturer's assistance, happen on day one. And I think that I have included that already. The last thing I'll say is the recommendation, I think, supports that the committee's responsibility, which is to ensure that your plan dollars are spent wisely while maintaining access to high-quality providers, prescription benefits for your employees and retirees. And that is something that is my sole focus, is helping employers get the tools to do that. Just quickly, there is going to be, all members will be getting new ID cards this year because your Florida Blue Card also houses your pharmacy benefit manager information. So all of the people that are on the Florida Blue plan will get a new ID card with the Med Impact Pharmacy information. We will be able to we are going to have files that go over to make the transition easier. So prior authorizations that are already out there will feed over to Med Impact, things like that. So just know that we're working everything behind the scenes. There's also no disruption to your pharmacies, so the members can still go to the same pharmacies that they're used to going to. Mail order and specialty will just be changing, and we'll get some notification out on that. This is just some of the ways that they save money, they being Med Impact. So the specialty, copay, and patient assistance programs, they do that for non-specialty medications, which is unique in the market. Most of the PBMs out there that will do any of it will only do it for specialty meds, which represent like 15 of your medications, and not any of the brands like the Ozempics that are out there, for example. So we want to have a little bit of manufacturer's assistance for that. They also do a biosimilar conversion, which means for the very expensive specialty medications that are out there, there are generics, for lack of a better term, but they're called biosimilars, that are 20% of the cost. 20% of the cost on something that's $10,000 to $15,000 a month currently is a huge game changer for a self-insured plan. So we will be tracking their performance, and I'm happy to report back to you as requested. Any questions on the pharmacy benefit manager?
Question, Mrs. Moore, and then Ms. Coachman, did you have?
No.
Okay, and then Mr. Schuessler after Ms. Moore. Okay.
For that benefit, for the biosimilar?
Yeah.
Do they have to choose that?
So if they are interchangeable, so there's two types of biosimilars. If they are considered interchangeable, meaning the pharmacist could truly just say, no, this is the same thing, yes, it's mandatory. So Humira is an example of that. Stelara is getting there. The price of those medications have been just excessive, and the manufacturers will do something creative, like change the way that you receive the medication by putting it in a pen instead of a needle, and that extends the patent for another 5 years. And meanwhile, employers are paying 10, 15, 20 grand per person that's on the medication. So yes, it is mandatory for things that are interchangeable. If there are biosimilars that are new to market and they're not considered interchangeable yet, then no, it is not mandatory, but the member will have the guidance on the phone but whenever they're filling that specialty medication to discuss that option.
Mr. Schuessler?
Yeah, my question was along the same lines as Councilwoman Moore's, in that if it is biosimilar, but your doctor says absolutely not, you need to take this medicine and not the biosimilar, are there exclusions?
No. So here is, I'm glad that you brought that up, not only for specialty medications, but for brand name medications. So many times, or not many times, very little time, but we do see this. Maybe there is something within the generic that the member's allergic to, a coating on the pill, for example. There is a dispenses written policy that is written into your plan where if the provider says this patient needs this, the member can get that medication.
That was my question.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I motion to move pharmacy coverage from RX Benefits, Optum RX to MPA Med Impact.
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Coker. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Thank you. Danielle?
All right, the grand finale. We have an internal actuary that does your projections for your renewals, and that's how the overall premiums are established. So instead of a fully insured carrier where they say your rate is $500 a month, we actually have an actuary that does this for you. With claims through May, the reforecast of your current year is good. We're not over budget, we're right at budget. So that's always helpful. And the way that that works is they'll look at a rolling 24-month claims period and project forward what the cost will be using medical and pharmacy trends and other factors. But good news that we're not expected to land over budget. The renewal with the Sun Life stop loss coming in at a decrease is now projected at a 5.6% increase to today's funding rates. So that means the city's cost, the employee cost, that altogether is your funding rate. It's a fully insured equivalent rate. The insurance committee voted to proportionally split that this year so that employees and retiree premiums will increase by 5.6%, and the city will also increase funding by 5.6%, approximately $507,000 for the city. The 5.6% increase for your employees is between 51 cents and $25 per month. And I'll show you the details on that in a moment, but it basically depends on which plan they enroll in and if they cover their dependents, where they fall within that 51 cents to $25 per month. Per paycheck, it's even less than that.
Excuse me. Thank you.
This is probably going to be too small for some to see, but I've tried my best to call out the important things. Just to talk you through how it's structured, the top row is your HMO plan, the middle section is your PPO, and the bottom section is your high deductible health plan, which is paired with a health savings account. What I have put the red square or rectangles around is the percentage that the employee pays of the total premium today and what they would pay at renewal, and that will be the same. So for example, somebody that is on your HMO plan that has employee-only coverage, they pay 9% of whatever that premium is, and the city picks up the other 91%. That goes all the way through here. Just to call out some of the others, for PPO, the employee pays 5% of the premium. And for the high deductible health plan, the employee only pays 1% of the total premium. That's a great benefit that you're able to offer. The overall split, meaning employee versus the city, is 13% is paid by employees in the form of premium contributions, and the rest is paid by the city. So the dollar change and percent change that is in the different colored blue right next to the red rectangle, you'll see the HMO employee only, for example, will have a $4.36 increase per month. So per pay, it's even less than that. For family coverage, they're the ones that are closest to that $25, so $24.75 would be the increase for that family premium. For PPO employee only, $2.36 per month. And for the high deductible health plan, 51 cents per month. In the very bottom, you can see that if the enrollment stayed exactly the same as it is today, the employees would pick up about $75,000 of the increase. The city would pick up the rest, about $507,000. And one other thing before I open it up to questions. We say everything's running well. We're running at budget. Why is there an increase? It's where my head would go. It's because the cost of medical services goes up. It's medical trend. I just don't like that word, and I don't really agree with it, but it exists on the commercial market, meaning if you have Blue Cross, Cigna, Aetna, any of the carriers, they go out and negotiate deals with the hospitals. Those deals automatically have escalator clauses in them, meaning every year the cost will go up for every service, no matter what the true cost of that service is. But under a traditional plan like we have, 5.6% is phenomenal because medical trend is 8% and pharmacy's 15%. So you guys are beating that.
Questions? All right. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, motion to approve 5.6% rate increase for employees in the city of Bradenton.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right.
It is what it is.
Further discussion?
Well, further discussion, I did want to say that in a, you know, an average increase of 15% in pharmacy, although we are, you know, I've seen outside businesses with a much higher increase of 5.6%. The fact that we were able to reduce our pharmacy coverage, you know, is very meaningful. So in terms of, it is what it is in terms of the rate increase. The savings that we're seeing in the pharmacy benefits are significant. And
Yeah, and one of the things the committee really drilled down on was discussion about, there's been years where maybe we didn't do an increase, but then the next year we had to double or triple the increase. So we want to try to stay consistent and a little bit more of the, you know, take a little bite at a time to keep it where we are. And then, you know, again, hope we have another good year. I mean, that's just luck of the draw, while wordsmithing everything else to make sure we keep it as low as possible while the benefits are getting richer. And that's important, so. All right, anything else? All right, we'll start the vote in Ward 5.
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
yes.
4.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. All right.
The only thing that I just wanted to show you here is there is a shade on this plan. IRS rules dictate the minimum deductibles for a HSA plan, so they are going up by $50 per those rules. We'll communicate that during open enrollment. And I lied about the grand finale, but this one is nowhere near as extensive. You have flexible spending and health savings accounts that are administered through Health Equity right now. And there has been some not only administrative challenges, but employee challenges dealing with that vendor. And it's not just the city, across the board. There's been some challenges with Health Equity. We've seen a trend in that space, the administrator space for those spending accounts in COBRA, of consolidation, where there used to be 20 when I started in this business in 2009. We are down to probably 5. None of them are my favorite, except MedCom is one that I do a lot of business with, and that is who the committee is recommending that you move to. You actually get a person. You get a person on the phone. You get a dedicated contact for Shamika and the benefits team. Employees can actually talk to a person. That's unusual right now. I have to say, it is unusual to talk to a person with these spending account vendors. They are responsive. If there's ever an issue, we have a phenomenal relationship with their leadership team too, and I can get things done for you. So with that, that was where the recommendation came from. The other piece is that you currently fund a health savings account for anyone that elects that high deductible health plan. This is common, especially in public sector, because if you're used to coming from a very rich copay based plan and you go into a plan that has a $1,600 deductible or a $3,200 family deductible, which is where the IRS sets those minimums year over year, it's going up to a little bit more than that for 2027. The amount that employee has to meet on day one, especially if they're not familiar with what drugs actually cost, and they're isolated by a $10, $15 copay, and then they go to fill their brand name medication, it's $500. That can happen. So as a way of limiting that exposure and kind of baby stepping them or supporting the employee with that health HSA plan decision, employers put a fund into that health savings account. You currently do $1,000, but it's separated into each of your pay periods, which comes to about $34 per check, is deposited in that employee's savings account. There has been some feedback, and really the better, I think, common practice is to at least front load part of that. So if somebody has something happen in October or November, they're not waiting for that $34 every paycheck to be able to be reimbursed for what they had to pay out of pocket. And so the committee has voted to do a $500 front load on October 1st, and the second $500 payment 5 months later, which would be February 1st.
And there's one of the benefits, it's $1,000 right now. We have 32 members on it.
Correct.
Out of 700 almost. So we believe, and we, you know, with all the actuary stuff, that we want to get more employees on it, because even front-loading that money and then paying it over the time, it still saves our plan money long-term, is what, you know, from being in a PPO. And, you know, with personal experience right now, I'm trying to figure it out, and it's hard to figure out with what I've had to pay this year. If I'd have been on an HSA, I'd be done and would have paid a lot less than I'm paying being on a PPO, which would save our plan because it's not coming out of the PPO. So when you really start to learn this and understand it, then you pick what's the best plan for you. Just like when you turn 65, for years, we know that Medicare is the best plan for those 65-year-olds, but they don't take it because they're nervous of losing something. In reality, they're not. So I think that, and this will be something that I think will come up as we go through the next year on the insurance committee, what is the right number for that $1,000? Does it go up to $1,500? Does it go up to $2,000 to entice people to switch over and save the plan money? But we'll really be able to see this year how I want to drill down on that more. And one of the things that I've asked with all of the things, but from the insurance committee, I think they used to have 4 meetings a year, quarterly. We're probably having 7, 8, 9, and we'll probably have more because of learning stuff. If you can't learn it and do it, then make it better. And again, it all comes down to what happens in November with the election too, because we do not want to have to cut to the bone. We want to be able to still be able to do things depending on what happens at that time. So we need a motion to switch over both of those or confirm both of what we're doing on the FSA and the HSA.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Motion to change flexible savings account and health savings account administrator from Health Equity to MedCom.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, by Vice Mayor Coker. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention regarding being fiscally responsible, and it is in the executive summary, regarding the $500 and the $500. We also, because these HSAs or FSAs and HSAs are portable, correct? The employee can leave with them?
So the health savings account is, and so it is an employee-owned savings account versus the flexible spending account. It's a use it or lose it account. And so if the employee does not exhaust the funds, and they're their own funds, right? So it's employees that are putting the money into a flexible spending account for the tax benefit. A health savings account is different because many employees don't know what they're going to spend in a year. And so if they put too much into a flexible spending account, they lose it. And so there's some hesitation there. A health savings account is truly a savings account with tax benefits. They include that the pre-tax contribution by the employer is tax-free. The contribution by the employee is also tax-free. And the investment earnings, so once you get to a certain amount, which with MedCom I believe is $2,000 in your health savings account, you can invest the amount that's above that, and the investment earnings are also not taxed. So that we can see these accounts go into the $50,000, $100,000 plus mark if people are savvy investors. But to your point, once the city's money is in that account, it's gone. It's that employee savings account. And so that's really where that discussion came from about new hires. There is some concern, and I think a good one, that what if you have somebody that comes in, they look at their options, they choose this, and they get $500, and then they leave pretty quickly as a new hire. So there's a 6-month waiting period that we are recommending, or the committee has recommended, for new hires before they get that first $500. So really, as they're going through their probationary period and figuring out if they're going to stay, they can't just get the $500 as a bonus and head out.
All right. Thank you. We'll start the vote in Ward 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. All right, lastly, Danielle, it's what we had talked about early on, is the employees that are reaching 65 or the retirees that are reaching 65. We're not up for a motion today, but just to give a little bit of information that the committee talked about on that.
Certainly. So currently, as we talked about when I went through the Medicare Advantage plan, retirees, so not employees, we're not talking employees yet, retirees that are eligible for Medicare have the option of staying on your group plan or choosing a Medicare Advantage plan. We're not changing anything with that. So if they're already on Medicare, they still have the option. You're not pushing them into the Humana plan. However, looking at all of the information that is before you, it is the recommendation that beginning 10/1/27, any new retirees that are turning 65 or employees that retire and are Medicare eligible, so those two different things, once they retire and they're Medicare eligible, or if they're currently retired and they become Medicare eligible in the future after 10/1/27, that will be their option. The Medicare Advantage plan, it is a stronger benefit than what you offer today. You are required to offer the same coverage. You're offering better coverage under this model at a more affordable price point for your retirees. So it's the win-win. There's a year kind of timeline because you don't want to just announce that and go into open enrollment a couple of weeks later, but it's certainly not unusual. I do see it pretty common with my clients. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Most private businesses, small businesses still, if they have those
Oh,
plans,
yes.
it's automatic. When you turn 65, you go to
Yes.
the Medicare plan.
Yes.
And that's-
Now, and this does not impact active employees. I just want to be clear about that because there's federal law that protects against that. They don't want Medicare paying for everyone as soon as they turn 65. So if you're retired and 65.
They're retired, and it won't affect the retirees from the past that are over 65.
Correct.
Now, it'll only going forward if you turn 65. If you're 40 right now and you retired, at 65, if you stayed on our plan for all those years, you've got to go to Medicare.
Right.
And anywhere in between. So that's just, think about it, it'll come up at a different time. Approve. Mr. Schuessler, did you have anything on that?
No.
All right, I mean, it was discussed
Yes, absolutely.
very much so, and again, the committee to a whole agrees that we need to start going that direction, but we didn't want to implement that right out of the box.
Right. So that's something that we will come back with, not impacting this year's renewal.
All right, any questions for Danielle? Thank you, I hope you enjoyed Bradenton for an extra 2 days.
I sure did.
Mr. Mayor, can I say
Yes,
something just real
yes.
quick? I just want to compliment Danielle, and you know, we've been able to work with her for the past 3, I think 4 years now, and one of the best things the city ever did was get a third-party administrator. And quite frankly, I think we had the benefit of probably getting the best one in the state. I'm bragging at this point, but she's very dedicated, always accessible, drives thousands of miles every year, lives in her car, quite frankly. So I just want to say thank you for your dedication to the city, always looking for options to not only save us money, but what's best for the employees. So it's not just where can we save some dollars, but what is truly is the best program for the city and the employees that we have. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Danielle, safe travels. All right, we're going to do one last thing, and then we'll take a quick break after that, but citizen comment. Citizen comment will be accepted during the citizen comment portion of the meeting on any non-agenda items, agenda items, future agenda items, or topic of relevance to the city. Comments will be accepted on the public hearing at the appropriate time. And I have 3 citizen comment cards, but they're for the public hearing, so we'll do those at that time. So, and I don't have any other cards. Seeing none, we'll close citizen comment, and we'll take a recess for about 5 minutes. Madam Clerk?
The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and staff is requesting approval of items A through AE.
Mr. Perry?
Mayor, I've had the opportunity to speak with all counselors regarding the items within the consent agenda, answer any questions related thereto, provide additional information. Mr. Williams has done the same in certain cases, and I believe that I provided enough information for council and had no comments regarding pulling any of the items from consent.
All right, so we've had consent agenda. Obviously, it's a bigger consent agenda items because we had our summer break. So coming back, a lot of things are just cleaning up and with different committees that have met. So Chair will entertain a motion. Approve consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yep. Vice Mayor Coker, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Coachman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1.
Yes.
Carries 4-0. Council
What about-
Moore out of the room.
Oh, I was like, what
She locked
happened?
out?
Yeah.
Oh. All right, so, Councilwoman Moore, we got approved the consent agenda by Councilwoman Coker, seconded by Councilwoman Coachman. We've all voted and waiting for your vote.
Yes.
Approved, yes, carried 5-0. Thank you. All right, moving on, Madam Clerk.
Item 7A is a public hearing for Resolution 2628. At this time, I will administer the oath to anybody that wishes to speak during the following public hearing. Do you swear or affirm that the factual statements and representations which you're about to present to this board will be truthful and accurate? Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello. This is a public hearing. Do you need to read it again, or?
It's related to the Jordan Creek
Right.
development.
All right, so, welcome.
Hello, good morning, council. My name is Jamie Schindewolf. I am here to present the staff report and information for this case. I represent the planning department and I have been sworn. So this is a reconsideration of PLN MAJ 0001, Resolution 2628. Which is a major plan development plan amendment for properties located at 1201, 27th Street East and 2906 11th Avenue East. Here's an overview of the case. The current zoning is plan development. Future land use is medium density residential, and you're looking at approximately 12 acres. This is the location of the subject parcel. The future land use you can see on the parcel and the surrounding area. And then, of course, there you can see that plan development project designation on the property. So just to summarize the proposed requests, the applicant is seeking to allow for two different options on the property. The first option is option A, which was approved with PDP 234841 for 33 single-family attached buildings with each dwelling unit on its own individual lot. The option B coming before you today is a residential development containing 98 residential units comprised of a mixture of 4-unit and 6-unit townhomes. This request did come before you a little bit differently on May 13th of 2026. The request at the time was for 106 units in that same 4 and 6 unit structure layout. City Council at the time voted to deny that application. Staff placed a resolution for denial on the May 27th City Council consent agenda. And at that hearing, you all were asked to continue the case to allow the applicant to come back with a new plan for your consideration. At this time, if you all are okay with it, I'd like to propose the applicant come up and present what they have turned in as a new plan, and then I'm happy to come back up and give the staff analysis after they've presented their
Okay, thank you. Yes.
revisions.
Please come forward, Mr. Grimes.
Do you want the presentation?
That'd be great.
This guy, right?
Yep. There's the start slideshow button.
Gotcha. This guy down here. I know it's tiny.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, council members. Kyle Grimes, I'm an attorney with the law firm of Grimes Galvano, and I have been sworn here today on behalf of the applicant, Jordan Creek, at Bradenton East LLC, for the proposed PDP amendment, as Jamie said, to add an additional option for a townhome product as an alternative to the currently approved duplex residential project. First, I'd like to express our appreciation for your reconsideration of this application today and the opportunity to address a few of the questions and comments that arose during the deliberations at the last hearing, as well as present the changes that we have made to the site plan to address the concerns raised during that hearing. While I was not at the initial hearing for this and haven't been on this particular project until now, I have been working with the applicant and Mr. Jacobson, who's here today, on this site and this project since its onset back in 2021. And so I am very familiar with the project and kind of the history surrounding it, which I want to touch on a little bit, which I think can help clear up a few of the things that were raised at the last meeting. Just to orient us again, this site is located a little south of Manatee Avenue on 27th Street, just west of the Braden River. We originally received approval for this project through a preliminary subdivision plat back in 2021. And that was for a duplex product, but on a duplex unit on a single lot. And ultimately, we went through the PDP process to allow that duplex to be on individual lots so that we could have more of a for sale project. And when we were going through that original approval, and one of the things that was raised during the deliberation last time that I'd like to touch on briefly was the access to 27th Street. I know there was some thoughts and things that were brought up in the last meeting on that access, and I want to provide a little bit more of a backstory, because when we were going through that original approval, that access there and the cross through over to River Run was something that was pushed and encouraged by your public works staff and the fire department, because they wanted to provide that connectivity for emergency services and things, not just to our site, but also to the existing residential in River Run and the single family further to the east. So we worked with your staff and with the fire department to make sure that that connection was provided. And of course, because that's a Manatee County roadway, we then needed to go through and work with the county on what that access would look like. And throughout that process, our transportation consultant, who's here and come up here in just a moment, did a lot of site visits, on-site counting of transportation, or of trips, as well as doing his transportation analysis, and worked with the county to show that, you know, a turn lane for the project at that time was not warranted. And as you've seen in your staff report, and as you'll speak to, the transition to what we're doing today with the townhome attached products type results in a net decrease of anticipated trips. So of course, we'll continue to have to work with the county as we move forward in the site improvement plan process, but just wanted to provide a little bit of background of why that connection's there. So that brings us to what the screen is here. This is the site plan that you reviewed previously. And some of the question is why? Why is it moving to this, you know, slightly more dense product in this attached unit type? And what that really results in is, or came from, is the market demand in the area, as well as other things like construction costs. And so what our client has seen and is very active in this business is that the demand for the duplexes has decreased. And he's seeing an increase in the demand for these townhomes, these attached product type. And part of the reason for that increase in demand comes from the price point. And when you have a product like we're proposing that's a little more dense, you're able to construct them in a much more cost-effective manner. And of course, that results in passed down to the end buyer and having a more attainable price point. With a higher density, you're able to spread your infrastructure cost across additional units, and it results in a more affordable product type. And so that's kind of the driving force behind the thought of using this in this location. And this location is an infill area. It is surrounded by development. There's existing infrastructure, there's roadway, there's utilities available to serve it. It is an appropriate location. And as you heard during the last meeting, there is a higher density multifamily to the south and a little bit lower density traditional single family detached to the north. So it provides a bit of a transition from that higher density to the lower density, and we feel it is an appropriate location. So now with regard to the changes we have made since that last hearing, first and foremost, we did reduce the density by 8 dwelling units. That is 2 4-unit buildings. And we removed those in very strategic locations. First at the northwest corner, removed one of the buildings there, and that is a location that will now be an additional park area, open space, as well as the building in the southeast corner that will, again, expand the recreational park area open space in that portion of the property. And one of the other things we've committed to that is shown in the landscape plan is, although we're requesting to maintain the reduced buffer width that was previously approved with the duplexes, we are committing to enhanced buffer plantings in that area. Specifically on the north side, adding a 6-foot opaque fence and 12 additional trees along that northern property line. And the buffers, that's the point, to provide some visual separation, some screening from the existing residents to the north, as well as some privacy and peace of mind to the new residents of this project. On the west side, for adjacent to 27th Street, it would be an addition of a shrub wall along that 27th Street and 8 additional trees that exceed the code requirements. So I know it's difficult to kind of picture what this project's going to look like when you're looking at a site plan like this. And so what our client did is we had an artistic rendering done so you can really start to visualize what this project is going to look like when it's built. And as you can see, this is characterized by extensive amount of greenery and open space. We have the retention pond and recreation area on the southeast corner or northeast kind of corner of the site that connects to additional passive recreation areas to serve the project. And as you can see, that one that kind of runs north-south has increased in size because, again, we removed one of the buildings in that location. And then at the northwest corner, where you have that intersection of 11th and 27th, we've removed the building in that location. That's a larger green area, anticipated to be maybe kind of a dog park or additional walking area to serve the residents. And of course, all of these are connected to the sidewalks that traverse this development. And so it's going to be characterized by connectivity, walkability of the residents in here, as well as, because these are anticipated to be public streets, residents of the surrounding area. And as you can see, the buffer enhancements along the outside will provide that additional screening of the project within. So what we're trying to do is do a balance of having that increase in density so that you can do it in a cost-effective way, have a more affordable, attainable housing product, but still, doing it in a way that we have increased open space and appropriate screening and transition from the more dense multifamily south to the residential to the north. With that, I'm just going to briefly bring up our planner just to touch on a few of the compliance with the comp plan and code, and then our traffic consultant will close out. Thank you.
So good morning, City Council. My name is Josh Slaw. I'm a planner with Pape Dawson, and I have been sworn in. To kind of touch on a couple of things that Kyle had mentioned, like he mentioned, this is for 98 residential single-family units. These would be attached. The density for this comes in about 8.03 units per acre, which is less than the 10 units per acre, which is designated by the ResMed future land use. It's also less dense than the project that you saw in front of you a couple months ago. We are providing 36% open space, which is greater than the 25% required per your LUR section 3413AII. And we are providing around 1.62 acres of recreational space, which is much greater than the required half acre required by your city code. We are providing 237 parking spaces for this project, both in front of the units and around the rec amenity center, which is also greater than city code. So we are going above and beyond with the design of this project. Along with that, we are providing reasonable setbacks, is what you'll see around the area, showing that 20-foot front and 15-foot secondary front. We are providing a 10-foot side and a 20-foot rear setback as well. As it's been mentioned, there is no accessory structures proposed at this time. However, any accessory structures will comply with that LUR section 5.1.2. So as Kyle's mentioned, I did want to show this rendering buffering one more time. And kind of like he's mentioned, along 11th and 27th Street, very minimal landscape material, landscaping is required along that, along those two streets based on that code section 41444. However, like Kyle mentioned, we are providing additional trees and that additional wall along 11th Avenue to the north. And we are providing that wall of shrubs to the west along 27th Street. And like Kyle mentioned, we are providing that increased buffering internal to the site as well, helping us buffer to the residents to the east. As a carryover from that previously approved option A, we are asking for that reduction standards request from that 25-foot perimeter buffer to the 20-foot wide buffer. And once again, that's a carryover from option A that we wish to continue to keep. So it's kind of an overview findings of fact. We are in compliance with your land use regulations, specifically sections 351 through 3511, relating to the compatibility with the surrounding area and having that public infrastructure already in place. We are consistent with your land use regulations, sections 3413A, showing compatibility of density. We are exceeding open space. We're exceeding recreation space. We're exceeding your parking requirements. We're providing reasonable building setbacks, and we have enhanced buffering as well. We are in compliance with the future land use density of ResMed, showing that 8.03 units per acre rather than the 10 units per acre, which is allowed. The project does not adversely affect any general health, safety, welfare, or the general public. And there are no known historical resource impacts or known environmental impacts, and we are consistent with the development patterns in the area. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Theo to talk about traffic.
Thank you.
Theo Petrich, Landis Evans Partners. I have been sworn. As Mr. Grimes mentioned, this has been kind of a moving target. Fortunately, from my standpoint, it's been a easing target because we started off with a very conservative assumption with the duplexes of single-family units. As soon as when the product changed and the character of the development changed to this product they're doing now, it became single-family attached, which reduced the amount of trips from my standpoint. And now that we've gone down from 106 single-family attached units to 98, we're down to 48 total PM peak hour trips, which is about a 44% reduction from the first time I stood in front of you a couple of years ago on this project. Another thing that has happened, you'll see here that it's the trip generation document I use is ITE. And first time I did this was the 10th generation of the book, and now I'm on the 12th generation of the book. We use the 11th for the middle, just to make sure we managed all the documents. And if you look at those documents and in some of the submitted materials, you can see a comparison for just using the 12th for all of these. All of these land uses have been having lower trip generation because people aren't making as many trips. We'll stick with deliveries for the reasons for that, but I'm sure theirs are more. So I just want to point out that the trips have been being reduced and they have been substantially reduced from the first time we got approval on this project. One of the things we were asked to look at specifically was, well, what if people kind of sneak out the back way? There's that wicked curve up there as you're heading up towards Manatee. So I did, in this graph, which you probably can't see, I'll blow up here, there were 4 crashes along this section of roadway over the last 5 years. I read each of the crash reports. There was really one where a car failed to negotiate the curve. One of them, the vehicles had been abandoned. I got no idea what's going on there. But there was one where a car failed to negotiate the curve. With respect to the others, one may have been a rear-end collision, and another one was actually occurred on a driveway. So there are actually only 3 in the last 5 years. The reason those dots are green is because there are no injury crashes. This is from the Signal 4 database, which is what DOT uses. If there were more crashes out there, they're not in the database. So I grabbed every crash that was out there. So to look at that, I don't know, because there's no signal at the north end of this road, that you'll have a lot of people sneaking out the back way, but you asked us to look at it, we looked at it. The other thing that we did look at originally was left turns, and it's anticipated that left turns will be allowed to both accesses. You can make lefts to both accesses. To be conservative, because that's the way I like to be, we assumed they'd only occur at one entrance and all the left turns would go into one location. The Manatee County access requirements require we look at a document called NCHRP, that's National Cooperative Highway Research Program, 745 methods. And if you look at the methodology they have, their steps are there. Are there currently left turn lanes out there at any of the other roads? Are there crashes that would be reduced? And then finally, what are the volumes? There are no other turn lanes out there. There were 21 crashes in the 3-year period we looked at. None of them would have mitigated a left turn, been mitigated by a left turn. So we also were asked, okay, well, what's the delay going to be? So we went to the development further south, which has substantially more left turners than we have at this development, and found that if you look at the average delay per vehicle at that location, it's like 0.2 seconds. So we went and we did an additional comparative analysis for a left turn lane at the multifamily unit to the south. So our conclusion is that the proposed development is not projected to substantially adversely impact transportation on the thoroughfare roadways, and it shows that the actual, what's written on the slide here is actually incorrect with the latest update. I think it's 46 trips in the PM peak total. So we've cut that PM peak trip traffic by 44% from the original time this approval occurred. And with that.
Hold on one second.
Yes.
Vice Mayor has a question.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm understanding you. So you said that there's a 44% reduction in trips from the 33 units of single family that were originally so there's 44% less trips with 98 residential units than with 33 single family?
The original proposal that we got approval for had 86 units in it, and they were designated as single-family units. Okay, for the purposes of the traffic study to be conservative. 66, I'm sorry. That resulted in 86 trips in the PM peak hour. Okay, so 86 trips total in the peak hour. When you go to 98 units, given that over time the number of trips per unit has gone down for all residential use types, and the fact that individual houses produce more trips than these attached units, you get a 44% reduction in the number of trips. Yes, ma'am.
And that's because when you got a number of units like that, people are less likely to travel because there's more people, but there's not like a home where every people live in a home.
Every time I do, yes, sir. Every time I do something in the yard, I make 4 trips to Home Depot, that kind of thing. So there's just a economy of trips. I didn't invent those numbers. It's nationally approved, and there are dozens of studies that show this.
Councilwoman Coachman.
Okay. Those studies, they're looking at one formula? I mean, I thought I heard you also say that the trips would be reduced maybe due to deliveries.
Yeah.
And I know I see Amazon trucks a lot. Have you also studied current traffic in terms of, you know, how many deliveries are done in the neighborhood? I mean, I just want to, I think each area, wherever you're doing these studies, are different. You got to look at.
I've done a couple of these studies. I have not done any for these residentials. This is out of a document called the ITE Trip Generation Manual. The studies are done all over the country. Many of the studies in the document have been done in Florida, many of them in Central Florida. But what they have found is the 10th generation had a trip rate that was up here. Well, they did more studies, and then as time passes, in 2025, the 11th edition came out, and they find that over time, and this has actually been happening since I started in traffic engineering 30 years ago, over time, the number of trips per residential unit during the PM peak is going down. People just are not making as many trips. The reasons for that could be deliveries, could be, I guess Uber Eats is deliveries. It could be that we just don't want to go out as much. It could be that we're trip chaining, could be that we're carpooling, whatever the reason. These are not foreign to Florida studies, okay? And there are scads of them. Now, the truth is, they don't throw away the old studies when they do the new studies, so they're still holding on to some of that data with high volume. It's possible the trips are even lower. I don't need to speculate on that for this because I'm just going to use whatever the document gave me. But they are going down because of people's travel habits.
So we're concerned then only on the trips from the residents. But if you then count the possibility of deliveries, more deliveries and what have you, what have we done? I mean, it's still.
The counts are taken at the driveway. I misunderstood your question. Every vehicle that enters and exits the entrance to the subdivision or whatever is counted.
Okay, so that's
Yes.
including delivery
Yes.
trucks, and it's
Yes.
still reduced to that
Yes,
number?
it's not counting each house and adding them up. It's taking a cut line at the entrance. When you do a study for a gated subdivision, you park outside the gate and you count the cars and the vehicles coming in and out. So the
That would
trucks,
include the
everything, yeah.
Amazons, the
Amazons,
UPSs,
Uber Eats, we don't know if
Uber
it's
Eats,
Uber Eats or
yeah.
pizza delivery, every vehicle that goes in and out. And they count trips, so they don't count round trips, they count directional trips. So it's the trip in and the trip out separately.
That makes sense, Ms. Coachman, because I was thinking the same
Yeah,
thing.
I
Are they
don't
just
get
counting
how
the
it's
residents?
really going to
But
change the
when you look
problem
at
of
it,
traffic.
when you look at the type of resident, I remember I used to go to, when he said at Home Depot, I'd get home from Home Depot fixing something and I'd be back there 30 minutes later and it was at night because I forget that one 3/4 inch PVC connector that I needed or the glue and I'd be 2 or 3 times. Where now I live in a condo, we like not having to go to Home Depot. So there is less trips. And one of the things that's amazing is you can order from some of these companies and within 4 hours have the product. It's just but again, they're coming, but those are counted.
If I may, the other thing you have to consider, as I said, peak hour trips, very specifically peak hour trips.
Okay.
Because that's when the highest volume is on the roadway. That, of course, is when we're most worried about the impact. If you order from Amazon or Walmart or wherever you order from, those trips often don't have, first of all, they go to several houses in the location. But more importantly, they don't generally show up at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They generally, mine I had one delivered at like freaking 10 o'clock last night. Hello, kids are asleep. But, we also have they show up during the middle of the day. They show up at lunchtime. I come home from work.
From 5 to 10.
Yeah.
They show
Yeah.
up.
There's also a 4 a.m. delivery.
Yeah, I know.
But the reasons, we could go on coming up with ideas, but the fact is they show up in the data. The reduction in trips shows up in the data.
Of existing traffic.
Yes.
Not when you add, okay.
Yeah, Ms. Moore?
So I have some thoughts on the trips and whether or not it's an absolute good thing that we're decreasing trips and encouraging delivery and Uber Eats. And that's probably a conversation that's out of the purview of what you care about. But for the rest of council, I don't know, sometimes when we have these land use things before us, I'm trying to think about what we're encouraging or incentivizing or discouraging, and so I just park that as a note to you guys that I don't know that that's the direction that we want to go in necessarily. But
Well,
putting.
I'm gonna stop you on that. What do you mean, the direction that we're going on that?
Well, I think when we talk about encouraging things like, do we want to see businesses thrive in that area? Well, we're not going to get there if we've encouraged people to not leave their
How are
home.
we encouraging that by
Well, by
bringing this?
this conversation about trips, and
Right.
it's because people don't leave and they want to get their
But
Uber
again,
Eats.
that is nothing that this council is doing.
Well, I'm saying that, as far as, right, like as far as, but to the point that less trips automatically equal good, that's where I was going with that. I don't know that it's necessarily the most beneficial thing that we would be considering. Like, I'm putting that in a category of, I appreciate the data, the model, the formula, but I don't know that it's necessarily a total net positive, is
But
basically
when you
my
look
point.
at, and I'm not arguing that point.
Yeah.
I'm saying that I believe that more people there would encourage more business in that area, because we know when there's more heads in beds, no matter where it is, it's gonna put more opportunity, and that's something we've been doing with our EDC right now, and looking at heads in beds that will grow business to give an opportunity. So that's what I'm saying, that I
Yeah.
think that I agree with you what you're saying, but we're kind of conflating this, which, again, I don't
Right.
know how this is gonna go, but I know that more people in an area sometimes drives business.
Yeah, I totally get that too. I guess, and I'm thinking about things like the River Preserve apartments, that we thought the same thing, that we're gonna generate so much more, economic stimulus in that area, and I don't know, I never see those people leave the apartments.
Well,
But-
this River
and this
Preserve is
totally-
an
yes.
affordable housing project, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that has a different concept of resident, where this resident would be
And I don't wanna get
different
too far
resident,
into the
yeah.
weeds, I'm just,
Yeah.
like, my point is, I'm not considering decrease in trip count as necessarily like, okay, great, check, that's a benefit necessarily. I'm just like, frame of mind, this is where I'm coming from. And the conversation regarding the left-hand turn is also relevant. So my primary concern with the whole thing is, and it's, site-specific, unfortunately, is your main point of ingress and egress, or the one you're anticipating, this is a perfect graphic. The main one that you're anticipating is directly across the street from driveways. It is a 2-lane road. I know that that is a county situation, but I'm just this is just, again, letting you know where I'm coming from. It's a 2-lane road with nothing in the middle. If there was something that people could, if somebody could make a left turn out of Jordan Creek and just get into that center lane, so that the driveway people can still ingress and egress out of their driveway safely, that seems to me to be a better situation.
I'll just make one quick statement. I don't know how much you've seen yet or not, but the county is putting 3 speed tables on that road along that corridor there that will slow traffic down. And it might eliminate trips because people that are cut-throughs
Right.
are there. The other thing is that the county has the right-of-way now, you can see where the sidewalks are along 27. So the county owns from the sidewalks all the way, which is enough room to put a center turn lane down, and we've talked about that. But the trips on that road don't justify adding that, even with adding this, because I've been talking with them quite a bit about that, of why don't we just go ahead and add that turn lane down the whole thing? But I don't even know if the residents would like that, because they'd lose then half of what they perceive as their front yard.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. And what I keep coming back to is this is just a little unique, because on the west side of the road, it's actual driveways. It's not like it's a neighborhood that are ingressing, it's not like you're competing developments that are trying to exit their situation. And then if I could just wrap it up, and I know you want to respond to that, but my next thought then is, if that becomes a choke point and you have people in their driveways that are stuck there until they can safely navigate exiting their driveway, and potentially causing a backup within the neighborhood, I have no official data or formula to back this up, but I feel like as a consumer, people will choose another alternative. And if you're familiar with that corner on Hubble, that access point to State Road 64 is very attractive for people within that area because it doesn't have a signal, but it's very signal adjacent. So 27th has a signal. They can very easily make a right turn out of there, easy peasy. That they're going to do that all day long. They're going to choose that, in my opinion, as a consumer, when these are their options. And to make a left turn is also pretty not difficult because the light is so adjacent that you can really just cut across, sit in the middle, and someone will let you in. And I navigate this corner pretty, somewhat regularly. I don't live there, but I am familiar with that ingress and egress from Hubble, from the scary corner. And while I appreciate there's only been 4 crashes, you're talking about adding more people who, in my opinion, are going to naturally choose this option. And that's basically the nature of I think you just have a site-specific issue with really poor choices for ingress and egress.
Well, and if I can, Mr. Mayor, and I'm going to try and touch on, there's a lot there. So first, and I'm going to go in order, on the whole delivery aspect, I don't want to lose sight of that because we're going to attached, it's more deliveries. What you're saying is just in the world as it is today, there are more, whether we have duplexes as we currently have approved, and the main reduction in trips is going from traditional single family to attached. You have smaller homes, you have fewer, large families in it, fewer cars, so that's where some of that trip reduction comes, in addition to just globally the deliveries is causing a reduction.
Sure.
With regards to the access on 27th, again, we have approval for that connection today with the 66 homes. And I don't want to lose sight of that. And one of the reasons for that connection, and we went through this extensively with your public works staff and with the fire department back when we had this originally coming to this council back in 2021 and ultimately in 2024, was they wanted that connection. They wanted the emergency service access for response times to get over to River Runway. Our client actually wanted, more of the primary access off 11th, but that was encouraged by your staff, so we agreed to that and then worked with the county on what that access would look like. And yes, Mr. Mayor, I think the county is looking at more global fixes of 27th. So with our warrant analysis showing that it wasn't deemed necessary for this, and even though we're going to the attached with more units, the reduction in trip still shows that we don't warrant that turn lane there. But not to say that it won't be done with the county's more global fixes in the future. But as I mentioned, we have that access approved today, whether we do these townhomes or the duplex style. And then with regards to the access out to Hubble, will you touch on that, Theo?
The access out to Hubble, I agree. You're shadowed by 2 intersections. It's what we call intersection downstream is a shadow, because we're very creative individuals as engineers. But that curve is apparent. And like I say, that we have only had 1 crash. Are we going to have more cars? We may have more cars. I'm not going to, whether or not somebody goes that way. The exiting trips in the peak hour from this, if we go with the trip generation, which is what I have, 21. It's 1 car every 20 seconds. 21 at the peak hour. That's 1 car every 20 minutes, 30 minutes, right? No, 3 minutes. I got it. I'll get there eventually. I'm an engineer, but I need a calculator. So every 3 minutes. So we don't have a massive amount of cars exiting this site. There likely will never be a backup on the exit unless 2 of those cars have, they have to be going the same place at the same time. So the exiting cars coming out of the development, 20 in an hour, 21 in an hour. It's not a huge volume. If you went out there and you counted the cars going up and down the road today on 27th and you counted them tomorrow, you're going to get at least 20 different cars, a difference. Does it increase? Yes. We're not going to deny there's going to be cars there, but it's a small number in the peak hour exiting that site.
And so just to reiterate, this is a project that has development approvals. We have everything. And what our client wants to do, is utilize the basic structure of what's approved, but again, to bring this product that, one, with the changes we've made has, meets that PD standard, the increased open space, and we've gone beyond what's required. Walkability, communal feel of having those places to congregate and having the sidewalks to walk through, but doing it with a product that is more cost effective, that you can have more attainable housing, which is something that is needed in the city. And we feel that this is a great location for it. Again, this is not a, no development versus development. It's looking at what is the right thing for this site. And we really, truly feel that this product type and how it's designed is appropriate.
Any other questions before we finish up with staff and then go to public hearing? All right. Ms. Shinoller, anything else from staff?
All right. Yes, so they've already shown the site plan. I do want to point out this is what we received as part of the application, and this is what's reflected in the resolution that you all were provided. The renderings you were shown do show pathways and an additional sidewalk through those open space and recreation areas, and as you can see, those aren't shown on this site plan. So I do want to point that out, and if you do want to if you do choose to vote to approve, I would recommend adding a stipulation for that because you were shown it if you do want to see it in the ultimate final product. This is just the dimensional standards that were proposed. They haven't changed from the original option B. But just to go over the PDP standards, this is our general guidance on standards for PDPs. You've seen this before. Maximum flexibility in designing a higher quality, more innovative project that might not otherwise be permitted through the land use regulations. So as far as density is concerned, maximum density is not guaranteed for a proposed PDP, and I did include in the staff report some estimates of the densities in the surrounding area. Single-family homes in the area are around 4.8 units per acre. Residential to the west looking at approximately 2.4 units. Other development along River Run Way comes in around 4.13, but there is an apartment community nearby that looks as if it has approximately 9.9 units per acre. All of these areas do have that same underlying future land use designation that allows up to 10 dwelling units per acre. You've seen regarding open space, they have increased the amount of open space and recreational space that they're proposing for this project. I've shown the building setbacks. That's pretty standard for our code. Regarding buffers, again, they are requesting that reduction with plantings located within the 20-foot buffer if that's approved, and there is a stipulation proposed as well regarding that. And then no accessory structures have been proposed at this point. They did indicate at a public hearing that the accessory structures would meet a 5-foot setback, and a stipulation has been added suggesting a suggested stipulation has been added regarding that particular setback. A neighborhood activity center is not proposed. Regarding parking and vehicular access, Public Works did have some concerns, and I've reflected them here. This is not my area of expertise, but I am sharing it with you all. Public Works is concerned that there are no breaks in those driveways. This is something that can be worked out at the SIP stage, and a stipulation is suggested to that effect. But they're concerned with pedestrian access, also locations of water meters and backflow preventers, other utility accessories that need to be in that area. Regarding contributions to public facilities, stipulations of a preliminary PDP approval can include requirements to make improvements to public facilities. And again, Public Works expressed a concern regarding that county road, and they did reach out to Manatee County, but did not get any more information regarding approval or denial of the proposal from the county. So overall, the proposed option B request has not changed super significantly. They are providing additional open space and recreational space. City Council must consider whether the request for the reduction in the buffer standards is appropriate. Staff has received some correspondence from citizens with concerns, and that's been provided to council. This is simply an overview of the history that on April 15th, Planning Commission voted 5-1 to recommend approval of the original option B. May 13th, City Council voted 5-0 to deny, and then on May 27th, Council voted 5-0 to consider this revised application at a later date. City
Amy, I
Council.
want to ask one question.
Oh,
You
yes.
said received some. I only received one.
That's the only one I'm aware of.
Received a few.
Or you didn't share them?
They were
I'm talking-
voicemail.
Oh, okay, but.
Okay.
Oh,
I've
you
only
mean from
received one.
citizens complaining?
Received
about-
just one written,
Oh.
and then one, yeah.
I've received a few, and I probably because it's my ward. I'm
Right.
sorry if I didn't
Yeah.
share. I assumed that the emails were going to everyone, and I did not share the voicemail, but I have at least 5.
Staff also, for the previous iteration, you all received the commentary on that as well, back when that was presented to you. So overall, City Council is encouraged to consider staff analysis, the applicant's submission and presentation, and public testimony in making a motion for approval or denial. And these are the suggested stipulations that we have, though I will say that we had not seen that rendering prior to today. And so if you do want to hold them to that specific enhanced, the pathways and the sidewalks and the recreation area and open space, that is something you would need to add to the stipulations. Thank you.
Did you have a question?
I think
Yes, I
Ms.
do.
Ms. Barnaby and Vice Mayor.
Ms. Schindler-Wolf. Looking at the staff report on page 5, it talks about Public Works concerns with this design and driveways and garages. And it states in here that the proposed driveway and access for the townhome units does not meet current standards. Would you like to speak to that, or would you like somebody from Public Works to speak to that?
I need to turn that over to Public Works.
Okay.
Colonel or Chris? You're not prepared? There's nobody here from Public Works that can speak to that? All right, so that's not good that we don't have somebody that can speak to that.
Well, I mean, I'm more than happy to keep reading what's
Right.
in it.
Right, well, but I mean, again,
but
if
it-
they can't speak to it, then the applicant
is-
doesn't have a chance to respond unless you want to respond to it, Mr. Grimes, or, because we've all read that, so.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have our engineer, Matt Morris, come up to speak to that aspect of the staff report.
Good morning, Matt Morris with Pape Dawson. I have been sworn. So as of now, any driveways that were shown on the plans, obviously at this point in time, are very preliminary. We will comply with Public Works requirements for driveways as far as having the grass strip separating them to be able to put water meters, backflow preventers, those sorts of things. I think it was shown in the renderings that we had that there will be individual driveways going to each garage so that it's not just one big concrete pad in front of each building. That's not the intent. So we will be complying with that. We'll be working with your Public Works staff as we go through SIP approval as well to make sure that we meet those requirements for the separations between the driveways.
Well, it's not just that. It's talking about the maximum width for the driveways. There's no breaks for pedestrians to make their way from the street to the home, and nothing to prevent cars from double parking. It talks about, again, water meters and backflow preventers. With the solid slab driveways and aprons, there's no way for the utility, and tenants?
And I think what we're looking at here, like I said, is just how things were depicted on a concept plan versus how they're going to be.
But this is what we have to approve.
Sure, and that's what I'm trying to explain. As you see here on this proposed site plan, we effectively just have a box shown as a building, which is typical, showing the outline of the building box, the building lots, and things like that. And it just shaded everything in as gray in the front. If we skip up to the actual plan, you'll see that there is the strip of grass between each driveway. We fully understand that the maximum driveway width is 10 feet wide. We'll be complying with that. So again, those are details that typically are worked out as you go through SIP and not shown on the concept plan, just because the the concept plan shows that all as that gray area. We're not requesting any kind of deviations from anything that's in the code with regard to that, and we fully intend to comply with what your public works staff needs us to do on those driveways.
But I've never had a staff report that had this kind of information on it from Public Works saying that these were concerns. And I've been sitting here a while.
And as Ms. was said, that we could utilize that in a stipulation that will comply with the driveway separation, the strip for, to allow the, what
Let
needs to be
me
going
ask
in
a
there.
question here. So, and we're trying to get a hold of that Public Works employee to get here, so they can explain it. But, and when this happens, where we're going through a change like this, would you normally have already gone through a SIP plan before that?
No, typically the SIP comes after these approvals.
All right, that's what I thought. And so, to be normal, this isn't normal because you wouldn't spend the time and effort to do something, but you're saying you would comply with it.
Typically, we wouldn't see, and I agree with Commissioner Barnaby, typically we wouldn't see this kind of a comment on a concept plan.
Right.
This is what gets worked out with the SIP. I assume, and if the Public Works employee can come and explain it, I assume they simply looked at the concept plan and said, hey, you're gonna need to comply with this and.
Or you
make
don't,
sure that
you-
you're
we
gonna
may
comply with
approve it, but if you don't comply with it,
then
you
it
don't
won't
get
get
it.
approved as a SIP, correct? So we have to comply with it in order to get approved for a SIP. We have to have our SIP in order to be able to actually go out and build the project. So if we don't comply with that during the SIP, again, we're not asking for any variances, we're not asking for any waivers to those Public Works driveway standards. So we will have to comply with the Public Works.
Or not build it and,
Correct.
right. Mr. Perry,
Just briefly, the SIP, the site improvement plan, would come later. This isn't an assembly drawing. This is basically an entitlement drawing. It's the way I look at it. And the SIP design requirements from the city would have to be met, or it doesn't get built. I think it was put fairly well. That's the short version of what's going on here. And as many of you know, we have developers contact us and then contact you many times when we have to give them the bad news regarding our SIP development standards, whether it deals with separation of potable water and sanitary grade distances and things like that that are required by DEP and things of that nature. So they'll have to meet all engineering and technical requirements for a host of SIP concerns, not just driveways.
Agreed 100%. We had to do that, as Kyle mentioned in our opening presentation, with the plan. I guess we're calling it option A in this case. That plan was previously approved. We came through, had a SIP that was approved afterward. Same thing happened. We had to show city staff that we complied with all the requirements, all the development code requirements, meeting all the spacing requirements for utilities, for driveways and everything there. So that's when the rubber really meets the road from an engineering standpoint. That's when all the design details get worked out. Again, as Mr. Perry pointed out, this is an entitlement plan that effectively shows, and you can kind of see here too on the previous site plan that's up in front of you, that had been approved. We didn't really show great detail either on driveways with separations and things like that, but once we came in for SIP, that was all provided and worked through with your staff.
And I just point out one other thing, Mayor, is that the process is basically the application for a building permit that would allow these structures and properties to be built comes in through the planning department. But planning doesn't look at any of the building code issues until it goes to Public Works and the site improvement plan is approved. Then it comes back and planning goes through its review of building code specifications.
but if the SIP does not get approved, then whatever we voted on today, if it was approved, doesn't go forward.
That's absolutely correct.
Vice Mayor Coker?
Yeah, this wasn't my original question, so I still have one after that, but if we are granting the entitlement to build, I mean, it's kind of back to that 5-pound bag.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at that, I mean, realistically, you've got to know, do you have enough space to do everything that's gonna be required in that? I mean, I realize
the
it's not.
SIP plan. to meet all of that.
Well, I
plan.
mean, yeah, I mean, you can draw things, but is there really room with with however wide the units are for 10 feet, whatever it's,
Yes, I mean, we've looked at that. I mean, some of it's gonna depend on the builder when they come in. Obviously, they may have garages in certain places along the frontage of each unit, and obviously we'll have to make sure driveways line up with that. So some of that very detailed, side of things will come as we move forward. But yes, we complied previously. This was the plan that had been approved before with option A, and we have a SIP approval for that, where we demonstrated that driveway separation, everything was met. And again, fully intend to do that, whether it's option A or option B that we're moving forward with, that we'll be providing that driveway separation. And like I said, you can see it a little better in the rendering here where we've already done that. I think these driveways are still depicted probably wider than the 10 feet, so there'll be more green space in between the driveways once we actually draw it in. But again, these are just graphical depictions. What y'all are considering today is really the general form of the plan and the density and the request for the buffer requirements and everything.
and that's where my original question was. With regard to reducing the buffer and having the landscape, and I've had this issue in my ward. You plant it, we get a storm, things disappear. What kind of what way? How can we guarantee that it'll be maintained
Well, I know we
like that?
typically have HOA requirements and things over these properties. I'm not. We have to maintain those buffers and plantings, and perhaps we can work with your staff on providing something in those deed restrictions of maintaining those.
And Ms. or Vice Mayor Coker, that is something that's on us as a city. And if we aren't enforcing our own rules, that when a landscaping plan is done, if something happens in 10, 15, 20 years, it's up to us through code enforcement to make sure that it's back to what the original plan was. And we've seen a lot of that lately. Because of the hurricanes in '24, that, and it's, again, comes down to the council ward people that are getting phone calls about things and.
Sorry, I didn't pass those on.
Yeah.
They were just repeats from
Right,
what we got
but,
before.
and I get them a lot, and it comes down to, as Mr. Reese would say, do we want to be the Gestapo or do we want to try to work with people? And we have to start enforcing some of those rules, and we can't let one person get away with it and the other not. So
Well,
I agree with you, because that's
what I
a
dealt
very high
with
priority.
is during this process, it had to be a concrete block wall. And then somewhere along the line, and I don't know that it was anything that ever made it, there was an adjustment made that didn't require that anymore. So the people that were promised that in the beginning to have that buffer now have no recourse. And
Well, that's a different situation than something just
well,
blowing,
I'm just looking
blowing
ahead
over.
on something like this.
But I'm saying blowing over. If a tree blows over,
Or
landscaping,
fences, or
They're
fences.
required to put them back. Yeah. Let's get Councilwoman Coachman.
Thank you. Just clarification, when was the SIP approved for option A?
That was last year. Sometime last year, yes, ma'am.
So this council approved it.
The original preliminary it was a rezone to the PDP, and we came before you in 2024. So that was the preliminary plan, which is like what we're asking for today. That was approved back in 2024. Then they went through the process of going through SIP that involved working with your staff as well as Manatee County staff on the connection there. That SIP was obtained, but again, as I mentioned early on, our clients continue to work through the feasibility of the project, the market demands, and that's where we're seeing that shift to this product.
And another question, Mr. Perry or Mr. Williams, or maybe Mr. Rudisell. If this would have been like that first plan, would we have ever seen any SIP comments? Or because this is kind of a second or third change, that we are seeing some of the SIP comments? Because normally, I don't remember ever hearing SIP before when we've done these type of changes.
I would think that once you approve the SIP, it's then designated basically to go through the planning department and public.
No, I'm talking about if we approved, when we approved option A, there was no SIP comments yet.
Okay, right. No,
Right.
no.
So these SIP comments already being here is because this is a change trying to evaluate where, because again, I would have thought we would have had the same SIP questions if that would have came before us.
When they do the SIP, they provide cut sheets for the various.
That's after that's been approved.
It's after it's been approved by council. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yep.
Just for clarification, these are required to go to our development review committee. So that's representatives from many different departments. And so that's where these comments really came from. And, those departments can request that I include their comments in the staff report. And that's where this came from.
This is a rollover project, so it might,
Yeah.
there's more detail on it because of the questions are up here.
Yeah.
Which I like that, but also we shouldn't be holding that against them if it's going to be fixed in the SIP process. Because again, if this was approved today, they can't build the project without meeting those regulations.
Right.
So that to me is that's not a fair bite at the apple. Them bring it up.
I think that some of it comes from, because it's a PDP, it is a way for city council to approve things that maybe don't perfectly meet our standards. So it's making you aware that I think that Public Works is saying, hey, be careful, don't approve this exactly. If you all said, oh, but we love these driveways, I believe, because it's a PDP, you would be able to give that directive.
Yeah, but we're not giving that directive.
Correct.
today. We're saying,
Right.
here's the stipulations. If they don't meet SIP approval, they don't get, even though the council may have approved it.
Right.
They're not getting that. And I'm gonna go to one other thing, and again, I'm not saying either way, I'm just saying that you gotta give people a fair shake at things, and if you don't, then we're useless up here.
SIP concerns are often cured.
They're
Right.
mitigated.
Mitigated.
And if it changed the whole project, then it would have to come back to us again anyway. If SIP says, no, you can't do this, then they would be back up in front of us saying, we need a variance on that part, and then this council would have to decide. And I'm gonna go to two properties that some of you were here, some of you weren't, but it's the drive-through on 26th Street and Manatee Avenue, the drive-through on Chick-fil-A. We saw issues with the drive-through situation, and we made Chick-fil-A mitigate it more than we probably should have, because it has never been that, but Chick-fil-A was able to overcome it. If we don't have more heads in beds and people around things, we are not going to get more restaurants. We're not going to get it. So we're conflating a couple of different things here, but sometimes you have to look at that and say, okay, we ask them to bring better option back, and it's maybe it's there, maybe it's not. But that's what the council have to decide.
And I think it's also a protection. If you all expect it to look exactly this way, and you go out and it gets built, and then I'm just going to say the driveways because that's what we're talking about. The driveways are not one solid
concrete pad.
flat, right?
No, none of us want that.
This is just letting you know that this could change down the line because it's going to need to for Public Works.
But if we say this board council approves this and says, here's the stipulations,
right,
and it can't get worked out, then it's mute, and then go back to option A.
Mm-hmm. Or reduce their units.
Right, or reduce the units to try to meet that, which they could do that. If
Yes.
They could say, well, we can only fit 88 in here with this SIP stipulation.
Yes.
And, we wouldn't be disappointed about that because it would be less. But let me get to Councilwoman Moore and then Councilman Coachman, and then did you have more? I'm sorry. Vice Mayor. Okay.
I was good.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Mr. Russo, I think I asked you this last time, but if you could just refresh my memory, in the event that that we do not approve the option B amendment to the PDP today, what next happens procedurally? Like, what I'm getting at is, do they get to go back and continue the process of analyzing the site and then try to come forth with another option that is maybe more innovative or addresses the concerns that we are putting up here?
I mean, that would be their option. I mean, they would have an approved option A that they could move forward with, or they could come in with a new application similar to what they did here to propose an amendment to that PDP.
Did they ever lose option A?
No.
There's no timeline on that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Wanted to make sure that was out there, so.
to, if I may just explain to you guys what I was thinking about that. I think the PDP process, I think it's a great tool, actually, in our tool belt, because it lets us do things that are a little bit different or quirky, in sites that maybe have some obstacles or some things that they have to get over. But in its definition, it because of that, I love that it gives a developer, guaranteed rights. They know they get to walk out and know exactly what they can do there. And I like that kind of clarity. And I think a lot of times when we're up here and someone's just asking us for just a rezone, there's a lot of uncertainty in that. And so I feel like this gives me confidence. But I do think that it requires that bit of innovation and creativity, and that's kind of what I'm getting hung up on. Is I would like to see the site, and I know that it's going to be difficult because I know that it involves not just us but also the county government. But the uniqueness of this site, in my opinion, relates to the ingress and egress component, and I would like to see more thoughtful, address of how we're going to make that happen here. So anyways, I just wanted to let you guys know
What do
why
you
I was
think?
asking about the procedure.
Again, our Public Works is, or we've worked with them, and that's what we gave through fire, Public Works and all that, so I don't know that, there's much else out there, just from that standpoint. And I mean, you had mentioned earlier, because I drive it all the time, I've driven it since they started putting in the speed tables. I think that's gonna help, but since school got out, it hasn't been bad traffic. Because it's all about school. Everywhere is all about school. And, I think the speed tables might get those people that say, oh, I'll stay on the main road instead of cutting through. And, the left turn lane, when you come up to there to go left, that's way away from the stop sign, so it's there, but most people
It
are gonna
almost
try to
seems like
figure it out.
13th would meet. Are we underutilizing 13th? Because at least then, if they were trying to leave to head west or north or south on
Again, this
13th,
is what our staff directed.
told them to do.
Right,
Okay.
So we gotta kind of be on the same line.
Yeah.
Ms. Coachman?
Okay. Option A had been approved, ready to go, right? Were we at that level with option A?
Right.
Okay, but recalculations, that option wasn't bringing in the bang for the buck, right? Increasing the density this much, and just because we can do something doesn't mean we should. But increasing the density this much, formulas, fine. It's going to increase traffic. The infrastructure is what it is. When school is back in session, I think you're going to see what the peak times can do to traffic. There are areas in Lakewood Ranch where subdivisions are the long lines trying to get on Lakewood Ranch Boulevard or what have you, and some of the students are 45 minutes late to school. The community and the council thought, okay, the 33 or 60, whatever it was, when it was option A, okay, we can live with that. And now we almost double it, and I don't know why. I just have concerns. That's it.
All right. Any other comments by the council? All right. I'm going to go ahead and open up the public comment or public hearing. Yeah, I don't think we need to go there. I'm going to open public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Even if you filled out a card, just come line up and you can speak. And if you didn't fill out a card, you can still speak. So just please state your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. 2023, I thought we had resolved this issue and might have gone past. I was still working for the city, and I retired in 2006. So this project has been in the works over 16, 17 years ago. 2023, we decided 66 units, 33 duplexes. I was willing to live with that. I believe an owner has a right to develop their property, but it has to be consistent with the neighborhood, and it has to be, of course, comply with the city PDP or ordinance. We did get, after a year or so, I call them speed bumps. They were installed.
Speed tables. So people don't, there's two different things, the speed tables.
I'm saying, I know what you're saying. This is what I've referred to them as speed bumps, speed tables. It has not decreased the traffic on 27th Street East. I still have to wait, and we have a circular drive because the traffic was so bad. Me getting to work to the city of Bradenton was very, very difficult getting out in the mornings. Even with the circular drive, it is still, if I'm going to the store, I have to wait on the traffic. Sometimes I have to go south in order to go north. Putting 106 we started with, an increase with option B. We reduced it to 98. 8 units was taken from that plan. This council said for an exceptional design or a great design, something that was out of the norm. Your planning department said it's basically the same plan. Why would we approve it? For the residents on 27th and in that neighborhood, I would hope that, like we honored Judge Smith this morning, because of his work and his writing of the history here in Manatee County, I hope this council will think about the legacy that you are leaving, not only for our generation, but the generations to come. While I would like to see the development developed, I think you have to consider the existing residents there, the load that's going to be put on 27th, on 11th Avenue, even Hubble Road. The traffic is bad. And as far as the county widening that street, that is a great possibility. They own the right of way. But at the rate the county moves, when will that happen? The development is built, and we've got a problem that needs to be addressed.
Just state
Thank
your
you.
name.
So I'm so sorry. Susie Copeland.
Thank you. We all know it.
Morning.
Good morning.
Dean Jorgensen. I live at 1107 Tropical Drive. 5 years ago, through his representative, Adam Jacobson, J.B. Howell made a commitment to our Tropical Shores neighborhoods to not challenge the then current R2 zoning and build the 33 villa duplexes for a total of 66 units. Mr. Howell, in effect, shook the collective hands of the Tropical Shores residents, and now he wants to renege on that commitment. Why? Because after his commitment to Tropical Shores, he was able to, unbeknownst to our neighborhood, apply for the rezoning of the property from R2 to PDP. A sleight of hand, in my opinion. I have lived in this neighborhood for 40 years, and for approximately 30 of those 40 years, I and a handful of other neighbors have been fighting developers who only care about one thing, the money they can make. They don't care about our communities, our neighborhoods, our homes, or our families. Mr. Howell's holdings are vast. He's headquartered on the East Coast. He doesn't live in Bradenton. Therefore, he has no vested interest in our community other than his properties and how much he can make from them. So I urge you to not approve option B and do not allow him to build his 98-unit townhouse complexes on that property, which is inconsistent with the surrounding neighborhoods. Instead, encourage him to keep his word and move forward with the original commitment to build the 33 villa duplexes he committed to 5 years ago, which is consistent with the surrounding neighborhoods. And I'd have one question. When we met in May, we submitted 120 signatures from the neighborhood, people that were in opposition to this. Will they still, we didn't do another petition, and will those still be put into the record for this?
They're on the minds of this council. So.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Sandy Lore. I've been sworn in, 3227 12th Avenue East, right in the neighborhood. I'd like to address just two things. One is the traffic situation and the numbers that have been presented. There is no question that when you're talking about an increase of 48% of units, common sense tells us, and we've all questioned, how can it be that there is less traffic impact from 66 to 98 units? There is more impact. The two key things that Mr. Theo respectfully keeps presenting and his pictures are showing are peak hours. If you look at the ITE, which is the study that he's referencing, and you look at what's happened over the last 5 years, traffic overall has not diminished per unit. Peak hour traffic has diminished slightly, but the total traffic is stable, and it is because of the things that you are recognizing, which is the change in how people have worked. With COVID, more people are now hybrid, so there's less peak hour, but all those deliveries that we're talking about are happening midday or 4 a.m. in the morning, which does not help me as a resident feel comfortable about what's happening with 98 more units going through traffic at 4 a.m. in the morning with people delivering or anything else. So just note that peak hour is one thing. The other is the traffic per unit. The more density you have with attached units, there is less traffic per unit. That is also part of the ITE, which he's recognized. But per unit does not mean less overall traffic. If you have more units and you add up the traffic per unit, it is still an increase in traffic. It is not logical in any fashion to think that numbers don't prove that 66 units versus 98 units are going to bring you more traffic. So just to level set common sense. Second is that this is a reconsideration. They've had Plan A, Plan B. Is this Plan C? Not sure. I would ask for a reconsideration of the zoning. Somewhere, somehow, this got changed to PDP. And if they can have reconsiderations, we as residents, I would ask, would have reconsideration for the zoning itself. And I don't know what the process of that would be, but if there's reconsideration for this that's already been approved, then I would ask for reconsideration of something that seems to be without any notification to the residents that happened. Third is just a comment that we came in greater numbers when we were all here in May. The plan hasn't changed other than 2 buildings being removed and 8 units being removed. So the sentiments then
Thank you, ma'am.
exist now. Thank you.
All right, anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Anything else, Mr. Rudisell, that we need to do other than talked about it a lot?
Typically, we give the applicant the opportunity to make a rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, Kyle Grimes, and I have been sworn. Just to address a couple of things and then some closing remarks. One, that it could be in the stipulation fully intend to comply with the maximum 10-foot driveway widths. These are minimum 18-foot wide lots, so that would provide that separation just by that one stipulation. Again, if there was any thought that our plan didn't intend to do that, we'd want to resolve that, and we do intend to comply with that requirement. When we talk about traffic, again, our traffic consultant has testified to this and provide the professionally accepted methods of how you calculate traffic, and does show with the product type, this isn't going from going to be nothing on the site to all these units, but showing that change to these attached unit does result in a net decrease in trips. It comes down to the size of the units, bedrooms, things like that. And these are professionally accepted methods of measuring this traffic. And our traffic study and our expert consultant has shown that does result in a net decrease. This isn't just a money grab that we've been indicated. Our client has looked into the demand in the area, the market, and wants to provide something that is an innovative design. As we've seen, this is what we have approval to build today that's on your screen, and going to this, while it's more dense, it does provide more open space, which is encouraged by your PD standards. It provides more recreation, more walkability in the area, and you're able to spread the costs of that infrastructure across more units and result in a more attainable, more affordable price point for these homes that are still a ownership style home. It's not a rental. So people will have ownership in their homes. They will have a lot, it's smaller, but they will have a lot. They will have a parcel of land. A lot of entry level people you see utilize these projects. Some people that are trying to downsize and want to, still have a sense of home ownership, but something a little smaller, easier to take care of. And so this is a product that is in high demand. The studies show, our expert testimony show, this isn't going to cause an increase in impact from transportation perspective versus what has already been approved by this council, by your staff, and by Manatee County staff. And so, when it comes to the innovative design, I truly believe that what we have presented with the option B is a more innovative design than what is approved today. And we feel that we have met those requirements of your PD, and we respectfully request your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from that? Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to have a comment from what was just said. I am all on board for home ownership. I don't know if you've ever heard me, but a lot of you know that's where my head is. And I understand there's an expert on trips and cars and all of that. And what you're offering, if it could be plopped somewhere else, probably would be just win-win. I think everyone knows where I am.
No, I think one of the things is, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to sway anybody's either way, but when you look at home ownership, you look at opportunity for more people. We've looked at some of our affordable housing, especially in Old Manatee, and we know that they have not, in that affordable housing project, they don't walk to the restaurants and eat. Home ownership, you would hope that would happen more often, where it would put heads in beds that are gonna be able to have some more of that attainable money to go, to keep a Three Keys open, to keep that. I mean, that's where you're going, we just might as well say it.
Yeah.
We want that to be, and now I saw the for sale sign up there. That is an opportunity, and you hope that the more you can bring to something, and I don't love this project either, but I think if they decide to put option A in, it's more trips. So, and they can do that right now without, whether you agree.
I understand,
Again,
yeah.
I think we've got to accept the standards. We may not like it, we may not do that, but if the standards aren't acceptable, and we're the ones that told them where to put the roadway, and it's in front of 3 driveways, and it's away from the stop sign quite a bit. So again, I just think we gotta really start to judge who we're gonna be as a city. Are we gonna try to make it more walkable per se? Are we gonna try to get more restaurants on Manatee Avenue, which when you put the pen in the map, and where Three Keys is, you put that pen, the water kills us. And, so those are the things that I'm just saying, that some of these, I don't know if just build option A and move on with it.
Well,
But I don't
mean-
think the people in the audience were clamoring, jumping for joy at option A, if I remember correctly.
No, they weren't, but it was,
against it.
at least it was a compromise of
Compromise
sorts.
from what?
At that time.
Yeah.
And I get it, heads and beds, but maybe less heads. I thought when the opportunity to come back with a revision, and I thought maybe it was made clear from not only council, but from the citizens that came up to speak, that that revision would have to look like a revision and not just let me erase this dot. I love the idea. I would love to see that area developed, and it's going to be, I'm sure, whether I wanted to or not. I just wish we could consider a little bit more on density again. But again, I understand need. I understand finances, opportunity. I understand all of that. And it wouldn't be the first time if I voted to approve this that I voted to approve something that personally I don't want. But I can't vote based on what I want. I have to vote on what's best for the city. And this is right smack dab in my ward. So I do take some serious ownership to it. That's all.
Ms. Barnaby? Ms. Barnaby?
Well, I pulled out the notes that I had from our last little get-together, and I keep going back to the movie The Princess Bride, because in that movie, there's a quote that says, "You keep using that word, but I don't think you know what it means." And I know that I said at least once, if not maybe 3 or 4 times, significant change. And I don't see that in this plan. I famously have said, and people have said it back to me, that I said, you're trying to put 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack. And now I think you're trying to put 9 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack. I had really good hopes that we would come up with something that would be a little more acceptable to this council member. And I'm not seeing it. And I can't support this.
All right, Ms. Moore?
Thank you. I just wanted to, I wanted to let you guys know, but also to reiterate to the applicant that, that I actually like density. I like diversity of density within neighborhoods, and I think it's no secret up here that I've been trying to identify parcels within Ward 4 for just that kind of increase in density and playing around with density and diversifying it for the purposes of benefiting us economically, especially as Ward 4 and 5 are so downtown adjacent, and 3. But what I'm hoping for in these circumstances is more creativity. So it's not adverse to the project or the goals. I think we all agree on that. But I similarly was hoping that that the concerns regarding ingress and egress that are very particular to this site would have been fleshed out a little bit more. And so I feel like this is why I was asking procedural questions. You know, it's not the end of the world. It's not like it is, you know, completely over at this time. There's more, you know, there's more opportunity for maybe just a little bit more pencil to paper, and I'm not an engineer, so I can't say that it would be easy, but sometimes things that are more difficult are worth doing. And so I just wanted to reiterate that, to me, the density is not the problem. We can have increased density, and it's very appropriate to do that in many circumstances, but I have a lot of concerns about this particular site.
Good, so I want to just ask one question, because I think that hearing what everybody's saying, and I agree with all of the concept behind it, but if our Public Works would have said, okay, both entrances and exits have to be on 11th Avenue East instead of 27th Street East, I don't think the residents would like that any better. Because now, you know, because they could just go right through the part that they just did again. And we've got to really, if we're trying to really do something, we've got to try to, and I agree with Ms. Barnaby that, you know, so take it what you want to the applicant, but we went from 10 pounds to maybe different opinions to 7.5 pounds, but it wasn't enough to get us there. But again, this is what our Public Works told them to do, or our, you know, stuff. The reason don't really think it's important to call our SID up here, because it's irrelevant until we have an approved site, you know, which, again, if they build the first thing, entrance and exits are right where they are now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't change anything.
Right.
Maybe it lessens traffic, maybe it worsens traffic, depending on time, but, you know, I know that if we don't ever do anything, or we always say, I want this somewhere else, but not in my backyard, then we're never getting anything.
I hope you don't think that's what I was saying.
No,
I
but,
just
but,
said it
and,
needs
but,
to be
and I don't, I
tweaked.
wanna feel, with the residents,
Yeah, I
I wanna
want
say
it,
it. But again, I remember, if I remember correctly, and I'll go back and watch the video, is they didn't want that, they didn't want option A. But they thought that was, because again, are they ever gonna want anything? And I agree with them, that sometimes I'm comfortable with where I live and I want it, and I don't wanna change it. But, you know, if they, right now, if they decide they can build already what's there, and the exit and entrance will be there, and the traffic will still be there. But if we could get a better product and a little less density, because it doesn't make sense, but you gotta trust I mean, sometimes in teaching, what you teach doesn't make sense, but you gotta get the kids to.
I always make sense.
Not you, I never thought statistics
The
was.
listener may not.
Right, I never thought statistics in college was worth it. Who cares when the train leaves the station at 200 miles an hour from Des Moines, and it goes to somewhere, and when are they gonna hit? Well, hopefully they never hit, but that's one of the part of the stuff you do. So, Ms. Barnaby.
Yeah, I was going to say, word problems or math problems that have letters, that's the devil. That is absolutely the devil. But, Mr. Mayor, at this time, I'd like to make a motion for the approval of Resolution 2628, which is to deny the application in front of us. And I don't know how much of this I have to read. Do I have to read the whole thing?
No, if I could, I would like to, just based on the discussion and what's happened here during the hearing, I would like to modify that resolution. So I'll bring that back on the next meeting, which will be the 12th. So I think the motion today would just be a motion to deny, if that's the will of the council.
Well, it's the will of this council person that kept saying significant. So my motion then would be to deny the application.
Okay, second by Ms.
And I would second that.
All right. Any final comments before we go to the vote? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2.
Yes.
Okay, it's approved to deny, 5-0. Guess that's how you'd say it, right?
I know.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk.
Item 7B is the public hearing for Resolution 26-60, and this is the final assessment resolution for the Ironwood water main project.
All right, do we have any staff report or anything, Mr. Williams?
Well, I do have Ms. Warner Monday here as our finance director, but this is the final resolution for our water assessment, for the assessment over at Ironwood. The assessment itself, or the resolution, just provides the authority definitions and interpretations, talks about the approving the assessment role, imposing the non-ad valorem special assessment, providing collection assessments, provides for the application assessment proceeds, and for the initial repayments, and then the directing the filing of an assessment notice. So attached with this resolution was an affidavit that showed the first mailing that was required through the process was completed. Currently, our finance team with PFM are doing the second required mailing. And that second required mailing, I believe, is due July 27th, as stated in the resolution. And that second mailing is a first-class mailing as well, but it also, what that mailing does is give residents the prepayment option. So instead of having the full assessment on their tax bill and essentially a subsequent lien, they have the option to just go ahead and pay the bill up front in full. So obviously it saves any kind of financing costs and so forth. So they are currently on track to have that completed by the July 27th due date. And so I believe, I think I've covered everything as far as the assessment goes. And
It's for the assessment. if this goes on the tax bill, Mr. Williams, are we gonna have a tax collector fee for putting this on the tax bill?
We will, yeah.
So
And
that'll
that's,
be played
that's
into
all
the-
part of that, right. So all of the fees associated with this project, not just with the construction, are calculated in that assessment amount, correct.
All right, and then, real quick, why don't you give us an update on the project, real quick?
So real quick, the project actually is going really well. I don't want to jinx it, so I'll go ahead and knock on wood, but we've, Landmark Services is our contractor. They're doing a great job. They've been, in contact with any residents that have any questions. I spoke with Ms. Milton yesterday, and we only had 2 inquiries on this current resolution. So I think the residents feel very informed as to what's going on, very comfortable with what's going on. Project's going well. We had one minor hiccup that Mr. Perry and I, we were able to cover with Landmark Services, so.
And we do have representation out in the audience here. Did they want to say anything or come forward with? Yes, please.
This
We have
is
a public hearing.
It is a public hearing.
So
You're
are
the
we
property
done?
manager
We'll
and-
open,
and
we'll
the-
open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? This is the client, so, or whatever we want to say.
This is our citizens that we're working to
We're working
help.
with them. So please
Yeah.
state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Carlos Hernandez. I live at 3620 Ironwood Circle. And I also represent, the Ironwood community as the president, of the ICA. I want to thank you, for helping us going through, this project, and it is something that we needed, to get done. I only have one very minor, question, it is on the letter, that we all received, states an amount of $4,288,000. And based on the information, that I have received, so far, and looking at the contract, that is in place, with Landmark, it calls, for $2,800,000. So I just wanted to know, what type of additional costs, are expected, beyond the original contract? Because just like you said, the project is going very well. I haven't received any notices, that could cause, a significant increase in the cost, and I'd like to hear some more, how those numbers, actually came to life.
Absolutely.
So we're in the public hearing right now, so let's, once you sit down, he'll explain it.
Yeah,
So if there's
and,
anything else. Yep, finish all your questions.
yeah, that was pretty much it, I think the selection process, to select, Landmark, it was very good, they're very competent and capable, people. We have kept, a very good open channel of communications, with the managers, from the city, and Landmark, and that's it, that's, again, Carlos, from Ironwood Circle.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak?
Mayor, I'd also point out for the record that Ms. Tragore's in the back, who's the community manager from Iowa Community Association.
Right. All right, we'll close the public hearing. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. So the number that's in the resolution and it was on the repayment amount was actually provided by PFM, who is our financial advisor. What they do is they calculated not only the construction costs, but there are legal costs associated with this. There are their fees as well to provide the financial advice. And then they're going to service the payment process from start to when we start in November to 20 years from now. So it calculates all of those costs associated with this entire process.
The interest and all?
Interest and everything. So we will, obviously, in construction, just in that piece alone, when you open the ground, you hope that the as-built are what is you see. So we all know that that's not always the case. And so obviously there is a little bit of a buffer in there for us to have, a contingency in the construction side as well. Ultimately, the residents can rest assured that the actual cost of the project, along with the actual servicing of the assessment, is going to be what they're assessed. So the 4.2, I would say, is on the higher side, but that gives us some flexibility for the unknowns as well.
We had given them some numbers, so in meetings we went to approximately, are we still at those numbers?
It's a little higher than that now, yeah.
Well, what's a little, so they can,
I don't have the exact numbers right now. Do you know yeah, I mean, I believe it was less than 300,000, was what the differential was. Again, we're not going to charge them anything that isn't a cost associated with the project. And quite frankly, none of the city costs are associated with that. They could be. We didn't feel that was the right thing to do. We're trying to do the right thing for the community, and the costs that are incurred with the project specifically are going to be the ones that are assessed to the property owners.
I just think a lot of it's more knowledge than
Sure.
it is what it is, but if we knew that they were paying X number and now they're paying $20 more or whatever it is,
Right.
they want to know at least up front.
And honestly, we don't know that today. Like I said, we'll have the exact when the project is done.
Ms. Barnaby, do you have any questions since your ward?
I'm just very grateful that this council wanted to step up and help the neighborhood out, because as we have said in the past, this project is a massive project. It was a private water system that was put in by the developer back in the late 60s and 70s is what I'm going to say, because I can remember when they opened Ironwood. But they were having trouble finding even a contractor to talk to them, or a bank to even consider loaning them money for this type of
They
thing.
couldn't even
So,
find a projector to do repairs anymore.
right. So I want to again thank the mayor, thank the council, thank the staff for everything that you all have done, because when I got back on the council, they told me, well, we need to look at having this done. I was like, because it just seemed like such a massive undertaking. But I think everything has been going, I don't want to jinx it,
Please don't.
so I'm gonna stop talking now.
Is that a motion to approve?
I will
Resolution
happily and make the motion to approve Resolution 2660, sir.
26? Thank you.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Ms. Vice Mayor Coker. Any further discussion? Start the vote in Ward 4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Approved 5-0.
And Mr. Mayor, can I make just a real quick kind of accolades? I want to thank Ms. Warner-Monday and Ms. Melton for their continued navigation through the assessment process. They've been phenomenal to work with. And then on the construction side, obviously, our Public Works Division with Don Demonia, Kim started the whole design and so forth. So I just want to thank everybody involved, and then as well as Carlos and Molly. I mean, they've been truly a great partnership. So I just want to thank you.
Very
Thank
good
everybody.
friends with the golf pro over there at Ironwood Pine Brook and the staff. And so if there was things really going down that we're unhappy with, we'd hear it, because the majority of their golfers play there,
Yeah.
live there. And they're impressed with the landmark and the way they've kept them up to date, as well as kept the roads clean as possible when you're doing open cuts. And they're looking forward, as we go to get the paving done, that they'll have brand-new paving around the circle. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Item 8A is from the Event Review Committee, Manatee River Turkey Trot.
I have an easy one for you. Good morning. I'm Kelly Thomas with the Event Review Committee. We're bringing an application before you today. It's this event sponsor is the Big Bill Foundation, which we've done events with them before. It's always been a good experience. They want to do the Manatee River Turkey Trot on 11/26, which is Thanksgiving Day. This is a first-time event. It's going to start on the other side of the bridge at the Marriott. It's going to come over DeSoto Bridge, do a turnaround on 3rd Avenue, and go back. So the Event Review Committee has reviewed this. They did make a few recommendations on the site plan, and it was adjusted for safety purposes, but the Event Review Committee is recommending approval as submitted. They have an expectation of 1,500, possibly up to 2,000 runners.
So these events, I was with kind of the early planning over with Palmetto, in the Palmetto Marriott, and it was brought to them by Fit to Run, which does events in Sarasota, Benderson, St. Pete, and those events are drawing 3,000 and 4,000 people. So what they're trying to do is still have another event, which because of the Palmetto Marriott, having all the parking, and working with DOT, which we checked with, and we can get the bridge closed, and it's early Thanksgiving morning, so the traffic is not bad to begin with, and it was really something that I threw my support behind with the group, because they're trying to say, let's spread it out a little bit more, and then also with the way our Riverwalk is, the way Palmetto's trying to do what they're doing, it's collaboration with the two cities, so I think it's a great opportunity for us.
And this event will require 3 approvals. It will require FDOT, City of Palmetto, which approved it the other day, and we've got we've got the documentation for that, and then it will require your approval as well.
And it's over by 10 o'clock or something.
They anticipate 10 a.m. is the cut point.
So the majority of us probably won't even be up, right? I'm kidding. I know. Yeah, no, it's a quick thing, but it was a collaboration with Palmetto, Bradenton.
You're not gonna fry turkeys over there?
No.
Oh, okay, all right.
No, the parking was the biggest, because they would have, at one point, wanted to try to start it in downtown Bradenton, but we felt that the Civic Center and the Palmetto Marriott had the parking better to come this way and go back that way.
Well, and Marriott's going to host all the
Oh, yeah, all
on-site
the
activities and all that good fun stuff, so.
So, I think it's a great thing. Any comments, questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am, Ms.
I'll be
Barnes.
happy to move for approval of the permit application by the Big Bill Foundation for their turkey trot as presented to us today.
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Coker. Anything else? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 5.
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
and 4.
Yes.
Approved. 5-0. All right, Madam Clerk.
Item 8B, excuse me, is going to be pulled from the agenda today, and it'll be brought back on August 12th. But I do believe Mr. Williams has one new item for you all.
Yeah, we got an email early this morning.
Or late last night,
last
however you want to
night.
look at it. Yeah,
Last night.
exactly. So what I'd like to do first is invite Mr. Eccles to come on up. Yes, that's you, Chris. So what I had emailed last night was a quote and a work assignment for Woodruff and Sons to install a 400 linear foot, 18-inch ductile iron water transmission main on the north side of 8th Avenue between 2nd Street West and 3rd Street West. So the reason we've been working diligently to get this to council is obviously that's the same area that our police station is being built. So working in conjunction with NDC, Woodruff, and then our staff is trying to balance all of this. One of the benefits, and I don't want to steal anything from Chris, but one of the benefits is we have a developer that is going to open the road already. So the city's able to take the opportunity to save some cost in this installation and put the line in while the road is open. So Chris, so twofold. One thing is I wanted to have Chris kind of introduce Chris to council so everybody knows who he is. Chris is our engineering manager. We have moved our previous engineering manager, Ms. Clayback, to more of a strategic role with her experience and knowledge of the city and the vision to try to work with Mr. Perry and myself to kind of guide the city utility-wise and traffic and all other facets that we deal with. And Chris is now our engineering manager, has done a great job with leading the team. So I wanted to kind of introduce Chris so council knew who he was and then give him an opportunity to speak about this project as well as the project manager.
Thanks for the introduction.
Very welcome.
So as my first grilling, I'll say we're looking at saving 30% on this particular water line. It's I think as far as engineering and what the city needs, this is part of a project we call the high service station transmission upgrade. Essentially, we have a single point of failure at our pump station. That that failure is kind of tied with that 24-inch line that we moved as part of that police station construction. We've identified that as an opportunity to move water in a more reliable way. Let's not put all our eggs in one basket. So we have been designing a project with Jones Edmonds. It's about a $3 million pipeline project. It's going to go to the east and to the west. And the part we're talking about today is the third street connection. It goes from 2nd to 3rd. It's right south of the police station, 8th Avenue. Not 8th Avenue Drive, but 8th Avenue, right where NDC is looking to pave. So, like Lance had mentioned, the opportunity here is that the ground is going to be dug, the contractor's there. We're simply asking, let's put in another water line. And that water line will be taken out of the $3 million project with Jones Edmonds. So my rough estimate right now is about $110,000 save by making this move.
So, and it's part of our face it and fix it as we're trying to go through and have redundancy as well as work smart with the money that we're getting. And I think it's a good plan and an opportunity to do something when we got the opportunity, not wait till something breaks.
That's
Mr.
right.
Perry?
I think it's really creative and should be applauded by, the administration, at least as it relates to what Kim and Chris have been able to come up with in this. Because when Chris talks about a single point of failure, that is a major distribution sign, and we need some redundancy and fallback position. Because if there is a failure on that line, it supplies, is it 2/3 of the city about with water?
100%.
It is 100%. I thought there was another valve. Yeah, so nobody has water, 16,000 users. There's a game plan to create a redundancy, a safety nets with this high service system and a loop really, which we would valve off so that if there was a failure, we can shut down and isolate that system, but provide water to everybody else. So it's a very thoughtful, successive planning type initiative. The reality is that property that is on 8th Avenue now, you may remember it as an unimproved road. It's platted, but it really is for the most part an unimproved road. And to the south of it is where Mr. Manfold had his mini homes, I guess is the best way to put it. It was platted long ago. I think the width on those lots is about 45 feet. It's crazy. Mr. Manfold basically sold that, or his company sold that to a new developer. The new developer decided to buy it without having utility service there, which I've never known a developer to do if there wasn't some plan. So he has to put utility service in. The utility service is going to cost basically about $547,000. Somehow the CRA has supported that, and they're paying about 75% of that for development. The good news is we get development, we put it on the tax roll, the property gets developed finally. The kicker is that he's going to be in the road anyway to do his utility development. The paving on the road is part of the police department's new police department budget. And so NDC said, look, we don't want to be held to have to pave that road until you guys are done. Because we don't want to pave it and then have to open it up, open cut, put this utility in and everything else. So it kind of solves three problems in an efficient, sequenced manner that is cost effective, that provides fallback sustainability for our system.
Vice Mayor Coker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know who to ask. Will this delay the completion for the police department at all?
Not at all.
And that's why the urgency to get it before
Yeah.
council today is so we
Yeah.
don't do that. We're trying to prevent that. Yep, exactly.
There's this one thing that's kind of like a weird deal that's technical, but there's a supply chain issue for the ducted iron. If we had it done before, Woodruff had enough in their inventory, and what I'm told, it's a few weeks out at least, several, and we're looking at PVC options.
That's right. So the savings I mentioned was for the ductile iron. So if we transition to a C900, like a PVC
more.
product, it'll be more savings.
More savings,
That's right.
All right. Got a lot of information on that. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
move to approve, and I'm,
It's not on there.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
Whatever Lance
What
said.
exactly
Whatever.
is it? Yeah,
The
whatever
installation-
Lance wants.
The installation of 500 linear feet.
I think it'd just be a motion to authorize the administration to spend the $277,000
Execute the
amount and
work.
execute the contract.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Coachman, seconded by Mr. Schuessler. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
and 5.
Yes.
5-0. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Eckel.
Thank you, Chris.
Good job, engineering.
All right. Madam Clerk,
We do not have any unfinished business on the agenda today.
council reports will start in Ward 1.
Thanks. First, I think this is our first meeting since our big 250 celebration, and I just want to give kudos to so many from the top down. Mayor, I know this was a personal project for you, and you put a lot of hard work into it, so thank you for your leadership. And then Public Works, law enforcement, fire, I mean, just the number of hands that went to put that together, and it was such a success and so much fun. I can't thank you enough and applaud the efforts. I also want to make special attention to, I love how Palmetto and Bradenton are now working together, because I think working together as a team makes us so much stronger. Yes, we still have our going back and forth, especially when you talk about football, but I really like the feeling of working together now with the city of Palmetto. And I think that's due to your leadership, and I'm glad it's being fostered. But it was a great event. It was a great celebration of who we are, and, here's to the next 250. But, let's see.
I won't be here.
You never know. Let's see, I know I had some other stuff that I was, I think that's all right now that I have. Oh, one other thing. And this is regard to some of the, current elections going on, and I've been getting some phone calls about people who are getting text messages that are saying that their party is being changed on them, and that is completely false. No one can change your party registration, so don't start being worried if you're able to vote in the primaries. And I think the word needs to get out to people. They're being a little misled on that. But that's all.
Thank you. Ward 2.
Shenanigans. I too want to join in on the wonderful time we had on the 4th of July here. It was absolutely spectacular. I do think it's wonderful that we're able to join with the city of Palmetto and to do these kinds of things together. And I also, just to reiterate what Councilwoman Coker said, the city staff that worked so hard to pull everything together and to be there and to make sure that things went well that day, just fabulous job all around. This Friday at Lecom Field, at the Marauders game, it will be Christmas in July. And we're working also with Realize Bradenton to have some activities there for the kids. I don't know that it's going to feel like Christmas because it is in July, but we have fervent hope that it'll get just a little cooler that day. So please come out and join us. Would also,
Sledding?
what?
You can have sledding.
I don't think there's sledding. I do not believe there's sledding this time, but there's going to be activities for the kids. Want to offer my sincerest condolences to the families of Ernest Field Sr. and Mr. Ronnie Grubbs, two people in our community that have been in our community for a long time, and wish their families strength and peace. And I recently had the opportunity to go out to Medora, North Dakota, My husband is wanting to do some volunteer work with the National Parks Foundation, and we were invited to join some other like-minded individuals out at the national park there, and to also see the newly opened, because it opened July 4th, the newly opened Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library. Now, it is on, if you can't go there to go someplace else, because it's in the middle of not a lot of place. And Chief Kramer knows exactly what I'm talking about, because he has been to that park, the national park there in the Painted Canyon. But it is absolutely beautiful. And it is phenomenal what our national parks can show us. Saw 100 bison and the wild feral horses that are there. It's just absolutely amazing. But going through the Presidential Library, I was reminded of a quote by Theodore Roosevelt, and particularly in this day and age when we've got an election going on, and we have social media, and we have, I think we all are familiar with the term keyboard warriors. So I just wanted to share this. This is a quote from Theodore Roosevelt. "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The critic belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcomings, but who does actually strive to do the good deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, or at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat."
Thank you.
And if somebody thinks I'm talking to them, I probably am.
Moving on. Mr. Schuessler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Barnaby, that was a very good precursor in the spirit of our country, our 250th and our election season. And as we move toward the election season, to continue on with what you were saying, there's obviously and naturally a great deal of conversation about our city and the work that we do. Healthy discussion is part of our democratic process. And people will have differing opinions. What I think is important, and the mayor has mentioned, and others several times in terms of differing opinions, I think is important is that we remember the dedicated professionals who come to work every day to serve the residents of Bradenton. I'd like to begin by thanking our city staff, our police officers, firefighters, and our first responders for their continued hard work, especially during what is always a busy summer season. Whether it's public works, utilities, building, code enforcement, admin, police, or fire, these are the people that are working every day, often behind the scenes, to keep our city operating safely and effectively. The work that they do isn't always easy, and it isn't always visible. Regarding the keyboard warriors, processes we have in place exist to protect our neighborhoods, preserve property values, promote public safety, and maintain the quality of life that our residents expect and deserve. Over the past couple of weeks, I've had the opportunity to spend time throughout our city and my neighborhood speaking with residents, business owners, and neighborhood leaders. As is often the case, our conversations aren't centered on politics. They're about everyday issues. Neighborhood maintenance, infrastructure, responsible development, public safety, and making sure Bradenton continues moving in the right direction. Those conversations remind me that local government works best when it's accessible, responsible, and willing to listen. I appreciate everyone who's reached out, stopped me in the neighborhood, or invited me to discuss concerns, even when I haven't wanted to confront some of those issues at time. They make us all better and help us make better decisions. I also want to encourage everyone to continue supporting our local businesses. During these summer months, our restaurants, shops, and small businesses are an important part of what makes Bradenton a special place.
Thank you. Ms. Moore.
I don't have too much for you guys. We're just back from summer. It always feels like I've dropped off the face of the earth during summer and then catching up. But I wanted to let you all know that I'm attending the Florida League of Cities annual conference in mid-August. And I anticipate that that conference will be heavily educational regarding proposed Amendment 3. I will, of course, bring back materials and share them with Ms. Melton, and she can share as appropriate. I know we're not permitted to advocate, but we are permitted to educate, so hopefully I will come back with materials for everyone. I wanted to also, I know that I just recently heard from my River Isles liaison regarding the tree board service, and he's very delighted and excited that the mayor will be attending the next tree board committee meeting. And he did ask me, though, before he let me know that the mayor was attending that and shared his excitement, he had asked me to just pass on to everyone that they are still in need of other members. So if you know anyone in the community that is willing to serve on the tree board, he's very passionate, and I appreciate that about him. So yay that you will be attending and supporting them in their work. And then the final thing that that I just wanted to mention real quick was on the heels of I'm so sorry, I'm gonna forget Eccles. Mr. Eccles, yes, Chris. I didn't want to say Chris, but Mr. Eccles' presentation. I am excited to see us being proactive when it comes to trying to take opportunities when we can. You know, as there's a lot of stuff going on, I feel like in Ward 4, and it's always disappointing when you think that you can't accomplish two things at one time because of funding sources and all that sort of thing. So kudos to engineering for being opportunistic and jumping on opportunities when they can make more than one thing happen at the same time. And I believe that that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Coachman, summertime's almost over.
Oh, my goodness. Why did you have to remind me? I definitely want to say ditto to several things that have already been said. Councilman Schuessler, that this staff, first responders, everybody, every city employee, they are the friendly city. I mean, you can't even say thank you enough. Let's see. Well, welcome back too, Chief and Chief. It seemed like the last meeting y'all weren't here. But good to have you back. Vacation was one, and you were busy studying and learning a lot and all that stuff. But great to have you back. Wow, we had some great discussion, and in fact, I mean, all our meetings seem to be very informative, passionate, and all of that, and I think that's what makes a great governing body. Ward 5 is definitely alive. Since last meeting, there was Juneteenth and baseball games, and I threw out first pitch. I hadn't thrown a baseball since last year, which is one reason why I only stand about 2 feet from Marty when I throw it. But looking forward to this Friday. Sadly, I'm babysitting that night. I have 4 of my 5 granddaughters. So I won't be able to be there because there ain't no way I'm traveling to the game with all of them.
So I will drop off the Excedrin to you.
If that's all you got.
Oh, NyQuil. Children's Benadryl.
Yeah, I'm going to come up with something. But so I know so much has happened, but right now, we need to start thinking about school will be back in session. Look out for those little crumb crunchers because big ones too, they will be out in full force. And I'm afraid to say, maybe I should knock on wood before I say it, this summer was calmer than I thought. Thank you, Chief. Because we have some big crumb crunchers that like to crunch. In fact, some of them may have been on Riverwalk a week or so ago. In fact, I saw them walking. I didn't know where they were going, but next time I see a big group walking down my street heading north, I'll let you know. I don't have a whole lot of to say for now, but just thank you to all of you that claim working for the city and all of us that are up here. I appreciate you all. I really do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, let's start out with July 4th. Obviously, it's been talked about, but that event was spectacular. Obviously, working with Palmetto, Manatee County, and the TDC, and really upping the fireworks, trying to work on what we're going to do for next year because the fireworks were definitely spectacular. And Tiffany, kudos to everybody else, but Tiffany kept a lot of the social media going, and that just turned out perfect. And then also, with some of the social media, you guys are very kind in using the word keyboard warriors because most of them are keyboard cowards. And I have no problem saying that when they want to criticize us without ever coming to a meeting. And come to a meeting, and even we have started responding to some of it to get the facts out, and I think that's very important. But even when you get the facts out to some things, they'll turn around and say, well, it doesn't matter. And not even us. Some of the comments, people are challenging them to go to meetings. Well, I'm not going to go to a meeting. Well, be a keyboard warrior. Get the information, and then come back at us and say why you think we're wrong. We can agree to disagree. But it's frustrating, and it's not frustrating to where we're going to stop doing it, but we are a very transparent government. You saw it with our insurance stuff today. Normally, those items would have just been on the consent agenda, but it was important to bring that up. So if the employees want to see it and what we've done, you have a committee of 10 that is working hard on that. But that's the transparency part. And I challenge anyone to come to these meetings and get your question up open, and then we will answer it. And again, we try to work together. So, and that's not just to me; it's to everybody up here that gets that criticism when they don't even know what you're doing. But it's easy to be, even though you're not faceless on Facebook, because people can see your face sometimes. Sometimes they put these quirky pictures, but they can put out whatever they want, and they don't have any consequences per se. But eventually, I think there will be some consequences if people keep doing what they do. Opinions are fine, but when you start criticizing people and putting some other things out there, I think there's going to be some things that will come up in the future. Thank the CRA. I mean, July 4th obviously was a great event. CRA over the years has put in the field turf on Rossi Park. We got the shade covers that made that event unbelievable because you could actually sit in the lawn and have shade until the sun went down. So they just opened the day before. They're going to be doing some repairs on that, but just a great thing. City Park, I mean, drive by there, there's light poles up. It's going, and so it's right on schedule, and they're getting done, and those meetings every week are fun to listen to. Then talking about Ronnie Grubbs. When I was 8 years old, we moved into our family business on 26th Street. Ronnie Grubbs and Jenny and Dixie and Ronnie and their two daughters lived right behind the funeral home there. And I was like Ronnie's son growing up because I mowed his yard. But the only reason I wanted to mow his yard so I could swim in the pool that was there. But it was worth it at the time. He still paid me, took me dove hunting. When I got out of college, he bought me my first suit. So it was a lot of things with Ronnie. And of course, if you knew Ronnie, boy, get over here. Boy, come over. I didn't tell you to mow that yard, but I said, well, Mr. Grubbs, can I swim in your pool? And he's, yeah, sure. But just those fun, you think of those memories. And Ronnie, lived a great life and did a lot of great things for this community. As a state trooper, and then later in life started as insurance company, and just really was there for Kiwanis and the public and things that always were helping kids. So, and Dixie's still alive, and Barbara's still alive. And those are two fine ladies. And just sometimes it's heck to get old, because life doesn't always treat you well when you get older and you stay. But they're doing good. And I remember big thing. There was a big wreck on the interstate many years ago, and it was a really bad accident. And Dixie was in the car, innocent person, and was trapped in her car for hours. Nobody thought she was going to live. And now she's 90 years old. And that was probably 35 years ago. But you just think of all those things that when you talk about Ronnie and going up, and then others out there. But just a great man. And then also the passing of Bob Bowling, which was a generational person in this town. His son's the athletic director now at Manatee High School. Bob was at Palmetto, Braden River, graduated from Manatee back in a long time ago. But, you know, you just think of the people that were always there for the children, and that's what's important. And that's why City Park and what we're doing at City Park, I think, is going to change the dynamics of that neighborhood. And so that's how important this council has supported that. So thank you very much. And I could go on, but I think we did some great things today. I think some of the things that, no matter what we do and the way we talk, and I may talk more on certain projects, but it's because I think we're all working to try to, the economic development of this city is so important, and how we get there can be different ways, but how we can make it that much better. So appreciate what everybody does, and the support through all of the things we're doing. The staff from everybody all the way down is great. So Ms. Singer, did you want to come up for a moment?
Greg DeLong and I are participating in Advanced Air Mobility Task Force, which is being run by the Sarasota Manatee Airport Authority. Also has participation from the MPO and from Florida Department of Transportation, as well as all the communities in Sarasota and Manatee County. And just to explain what this is, it's looking at alternate forms of transportation, mainly vertical aircraft that can, similar to a helicopter, can take off vertically to transport both cargo and people. They are looking at basically focusing on the central part of the state, that's sort of the I-4 corridor. They have a testing facility in Auburndale, which is about halfway between Orlando and Tampa. We're just in talking discussions at this point. I don't know where it will lead, but I expect that some of it will have something to do with planning and zoning, and where we may allow sort of the heliport type of facilities. I know there's interest in coming from hotel facilities and other resorts. And what the nature of the transportation would be, what kind of noise these make, I couldn't tell you at this point. We're still just in the early parts of the conversation. As part of it, they're asking for any kind of corrections or changes to the MOU by this next week, and I apologize I couldn't get it on the agenda. We just had our first meeting with them this last week. So my intention is to ask Mr. Perry to sign the MOU if there's no objections to it, so I'm passing it out so that you all can have a look at it. And if you read through that, and it really is just talking about communication. We're not signing up for anything at this point. And I'm not aware that there's anything at the state level that's going to mandate that we allow these types of facilities, but I think, you know, it could come to that eventually, that we'll have to make some kind of zoning compromises to look at these types of facilities and what kind of opportunities it provides to the community. So I just wanted to put that out there for today. And if you communicate with Mr. Perry on anything, any objections or concerns you may have about the MOU, he'll communicate that to us and we can pass that on.
Yeah, it's something we've talked a very little bit about at the MPO, but the state has said some things, and even at the MPOAC meeting, I'll be there next week, so I'm sure this will be a topic again, that it's really looking at that even for private use at some point where you may want to do it. So, you talk about mobility, you know, we may have less traffic because I'll be able to land in my front yard. And, or you'll be able to call for a taxi with a driverless helicopter. So it'll be all drone oriented and all of that. So, if they speed through a school zone, do they still get a ticket?
Yep. We'll get the tag.
So it's a lot of what ifs and, you know, the Jetsons per se, but it's coming out. You know, they're gonna see how it really works. And I think that some of the parts, like if you fly to an airport and you want to get to downtown Bradenton, and then you would get on their, you know, taxi of some sort, you know, but where are all these infrastructure things gonna happen? So I think it's a long way down the road, but I think there's gonna be some test areas that will happen. But I'd like to order my lobster from Orlando and get it here. Maybe that's the way to get it. Stop driving to Orlando. So, all right, thank you. Anything else, Ms. Singer? You sure there's nothing else you want to announce or say, or
Good.
Yeah.
somebody leaving us? Isn't somebody leaving?
Uh-oh.
Are we having somebody retire, move on, take another job somewhere you told me about, Mr. Perry? Okay, moving on. Yeah.
Everybody's gonna be
Everybody,
All right.
every staff member just sat up about
Maybe
2
we'll do
inches
it.
straighter.
Chief?
Thank you. Appreciate it. So, yeah, I was gone for a little while, 10 weeks plus. I appreciate the mayor for allowing me to go. I said I had faith in my department to run itself with help from me from afar, and that worked. While I was at the National Academy, I'll give you my class rundown, and these are graduate level classes through the University of Virginia. So I'm halfway to a master's degree from UVA, which doesn't stink for the matter for that point. Leadership, culture, and influence, managing the at-risk employee, physical training, which was high-intensity interval training workouts, which kicked my butt. Conflict resolution, managing the law enforcement image, and critical incident leadership. The one thing about the managing the at-risk employee, we had to do a presentation during our class and turn in a paper. The presentation was on some type of situation. I did mine on Zach Butterfield. Friday is the 1-year anniversary of his passing. One of the things we found out in that class, there were 40 of us, 40 plus, half the people did a presentation on themselves, as recognizing from being in the class, from being there, talking with peers, experienced peers, you know, near the mid to end of their careers, that they were the ones that they realized had issues. And it was really powerful to hear their stories. It's getting me now because I remember them. But yeah, it was memorable. Time of my life. It was really greatly appreciated. I thank Maria for putting up with me being away. That wasn't easy. But one of the other things, one of the other classes, managing the law enforcement image, there's some message bases that they taught us to touch, and it's policy, public safety, call to action, and kudos. So in doing that today, the policy, we talk about things changing and whatever we have to modify. Public safety, you all helped with that today in your approval of a couple things. First was the grant for our Safe Streets initiative, basically, and helping pedestrian safety in the county, because Manatee County continues to be one of the worst for pedestrian and bicycle safety in the state. So we can help enforce certain areas, including one of the intersections actually targeted as a bad one is 75th and Manatee, which we continue to have a homeless issue with out there. So we're going to make sure we hit that pretty hard with enforcement. The consent agenda item also for the CAD RMS, that will go towards improving our officers' ability to get the calls when we get there, having the information we need. Also, that $500,000 is money we can take out of the budget, you know, that won't need to have the city pay for or our taxpayers pay for in that sense. For that, there's kudos. There's kudos to the lobbyists in Tallahassee for getting us our stuff done for the Southern Group. They had a lot to do with it. For the mayor and the council's relationship with our legislative bodies in Tallahassee and the governor as well. But also to Jeremy Giddens, who is a grant writer extraordinaire and really is, I think the city's benefiting from that as well, from what he's been able to do. Thank you specifically because the sooner we can get out of this building, the sooner you all can try to get out of this building. Thank you for approving the water line change today. That'll help move things along with our build. There's another gas line we got to talk about some other time, but that's a different story. But yeah, so I just I want to make sure I touch those bases when I talk to you all. But I really do appreciate everything that you all mean to us and what we can do for you. Please let me know anytime.
Thank you, Chief. Chief
Thank
Gear.
So there was a little excitement the other day around City Hall. We've got a new drone program, and I'm blaming BPD for shooting it down right before it got over City Hall.
No, that's, yeah.
But I can't prove that yet. But anyways, we were working on that. Once again, grant funds at work, and we plan to put that into good use and work with PD and their drone as well. I'm sorry.
Did you find it?
We did.
Okay, good.
Literally, it was in the bushes back here behind City Hall. So, anyways, speaking of appropriations and grants, we were awarded that for our station alert, which goes along with health and safety and heart health and the new quieter tones that and specific to each truck and person that's on that truck. So that'll be a big improvement in the next year to come. And I owe a lot to that, to the mayor and his involvement with, the governor. And supposedly most people got slashed, and we made it through somehow. So anyways, that was great news for us. Saved $300,000+ for us in our budget. Just got back from the Fire Chiefs Conference, and a lot of talk. League of Cities was there, their attorney. A lot of talk about the proposed amendment. A lot of concern across the state, so we'll be looking at that as well. And that's it right now. A lot going on.
Thank you. Any other department heads? Mr. Rudisell?
Well, I did just briefly want to introduce in the front row here. This is Sophia Knoll. She is a law student who's clerking with our firm this summer. She's also from the city of Bradenton, so she's been enjoying getting to see some of the behind the scenes that goes on in Bradenton and Palmetto. So you may see her this afternoon as well for those that are coming back.
What law school? Eh?
Go ahead.
What law school?
What law school?
Stetson.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Yep.
She's
And
a
a couple
hatter.
other things real quick before we finish up here, and I know it's Point Park, if people have heard about, we'll talk about more about that in our next meeting. And also some of our dealings with the county, different options that we're looking at. We'll talk about going forward, bringing it to the council with more information on opportunities for us. At the moment, as Chief Kramer said, the sooner they get out, the sooner we might have to be out and have opportunity. But all that's working collaboratively now. We just don't have anything big to announce, right, Mr. Perry?
Not yet.
Not yet. So we're working. Every day is a challenge, but it's a good one. So we appreciate it. And with that, we'll be adjourned. Thank you. That was aggressive.